Give it a few moments to get going. It always takes, usually 10-15 seconds at least, I think, before it kicks in. So I'll make a start from there. There you go. Now it's kicked in properly. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and chest feeders. We're still waiting at the moment for other guests to arrive. I keep checking back on the lines of communication, but I've not received any more updates so far, not since earlier today. So I don't know, maybe they're just running late, which is why we thought we might as well just click the button and we'll talk about some things, have a little bit of a catch up of the general situation as it is at the moment here in the UK, over in Spain and in the Netherlands. So like a general overview of the ongoing vaccine situation and the COVID situation in Europe. And if Please Stop the Ride and Venomnymous do turn up, we can obviously start talking about other subjects, because I know Please Stop the Ride has got some subjects she wants to cover. But other than that, it was not my intention to make these broadcasts into just another kind of hangout chat for, just to add to another list of hangout chats. The whole purpose of them were to allow us to have that connection with people over in America and Canada, and talking about that bigger picture overview, which was often the perspective in particular of JeffC, as well as ourselves and others. But it was to pick up on some of the threads of the work that he put out over the years for that bigger picture overview, and looking at some of the movements in the information and the developments in technologies and governmental changes, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm referring to. We talk about it so often. But let's just have a bit of a chat for now, and we'll see if people turn up, if they can make it. If not, I don't want to go on too long, because as I said, the whole purpose of these shows were for that, rather than just to be another general chat show. So hello guys, got Pete in the room and Bod, Society of the Spectacle, as well, has been able to make it now that the situation has changed. So do you want to fill us in a bit on that, mate? How things are at the moment over in Spain?
Yeah, the buses are still running, so I'll just take that pause a couple of seconds. That's it, pulled away. Another one.
Everybody wants to travel around now that they're allowed to again. But lots of people have been asking if you were okay over there, mate, over the last several months, because of the situation there. As we didn't have a curfew here in the UK. Well, certainly not a national curfew. There might have been here and there.
Lockdown is enough, isn't it? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the winter, like I said before, it keeps people inside anyway. And the problem with that, what I found over here, is a lot of people, I'm pretty damn sure, were going to bed early. They were sleeping longer, like children. Yeah, it was. Now the thing's over. The people are sitting in the cafes till 11 o'clock at night, like nothing happened. And they're like, oh, now we're going to all go back to normal. And I'm thinking, you're not seeing the bigger picture, yeah? And like, you can see the whole situation is like, we'll scare people to death. And, there'll be all these conspiracy theorists saying they're going to chip you and all the rest of it. And then all we'll do is just vaccinate the people that want it. And, people will accept that, yeah? And it's a shame. But, yeah, you can't wake people up. They're not going to want it until it's too late, most of them.
Maybe it's the bliss effect of having, permission to do something they enjoy again. People in that kind of revel moment.
Yeah, and of course, the government are the ones who are now giving them permission. So, people have sort of missed the point that, you're now letting the government tell you when you can enjoy yourself. Yeah. And, they're bringing in these big concerts now. And they had one a few weeks ago where everybody had to be screened before they went in. And that's how it's going to go now in the future. And most people, again, there's going to be a whole swathe of people that say, well, I don't go to those things anyway. But, it just creeps in and creeps in. If you could screen share for a moment, because one of the things that's disappointed me is there hasn't been any real, this is Friday. Yeah, this is now. This is the rain for Europe. Yeah, there haven't been any real demonstrations here, not big ones like you've had in London, France, Holland, Germany, Italy. So people say there's no such thing as weather manipulation. Yeah. Now I just happen, for reasons I won't go into, I happen to be waiting for the rains here in Spain. Yeah. So let's go and look and see what happens Saturday for tomorrow's big demonstration. Yeah. We've got Italy in the morning, France, Germany, Holland. It's been like this for the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Every single weather system. I'll go out a bit. Yeah. Every single weather system that comes across has gone straight for Northern Europe, and they've all missed Spain. Yeah. Nothing. No rain whatsoever. And, I put it down to the fact that the people here aren't demonstrating. So, maybe a little bit of weather manipulation, maybe a little bit of weather seeding, cloud seeding. I mean, I remember mentioning this way back, yeah, when the, whatchamacallits were going on, yeah? The yellow vest demonstrations. It seemed like every Saturday France was like it looks like there now. Yeah, every Saturday for the yellow vests. It's too much coincidence, yeah? It can happen once, but then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday are dry, and then boom, Saturday, it's raining like fuck. Yeah, it can only happen so many times before you think something's going on here. Yeah,
I mean, it's beyond coincidence.
Yeah, the weather doesn't have a calendar on its wall. You know what I mean? It just it rains when it's going to rain. Yeah, but
I just got a message from Camille, said she will be here soon. I don't know if we got times mixed up again.
Well, I've let the people in the chat know that I've been able to talk to you and the others for like 5-10 minutes before this place closes in an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, roughly speaking. Yeah, so normally at this place, whatever time you are, an hour and 10 minutes it will close. Still, this guy's not opening up any later just yet. He probably will do in a few weeks when somebody asks him. But what I've noticed for myself as well, having to get locked down, having to get off the streets, in a strange way, the future is gone. They've stolen the future from everybody. Yeah, I mean, people used to have plans. People that might have moved house. Money's getting really tight now, so a lot of people's plans for the future are just on hold. People. I don't think people are dreaming of what they'll be doing in 5 years. They're thinking about, well, damn, will I still have a job in a month? And like I said, I mean, people that have been in prison, and they'll tell you when you're first in prison, you've got nothing to do but, sit and rehash your old memories, like a dog going into the garden and digging up a bone and seeing if there's anything left on it and then going and burying it again. And so people have rehashed all their memories, so their past isn't worth looking at. The future has been put on hold. The government have gone and put it in their safety box, and they'll give it back to you when they feel like they should do. So everybody has been forced into an existential existence. And the number of coincidences.
I'm getting all depressed here. So I'm getting all depressed listening to you.
Everybody. I mean, a lot of people they live sort of in daydreams of the past or the future. They don't actually live in the moment, and they're forced to live in the moment through their phone. Yeah, because living in the moment, being consciously aware of the moment as it's unfolding, it takes practice. It's difficult. You can't force people to do that. The only people who are really living in the moment all the time, who didn't work for it, are people who are in the front line in a war or something like that. Yeah, because living in the moment is our instinctive center, and most people try to cushion themselves from that because it means stress. And so, you know, you've got to use your emotions, and you've got to do a lot of meditative work, say, to cushion your instinctive center so that you can live in the moment.
A lot of societies developed to extend that as well. Like most of what we developed over the millennia is the ability to prepare for the future in one way or another. Like even our monetary systems, you know, cash is a package of energy that you can hold on to from the now that you generate it in and use it in some future endeavor or need. You know, so you sort of like creating little pockets of energy. And I think that's led to a social psychological effect of people living more outside of the moment, you know, because obviously they've got stores of goods, or stores of goods are available to them if they require it. Huh?
Yeah, well, that's not such a bad thing. And in a way, you're right here about that is what the mortgage is all about. You know, you're selling somebody the security of their old age. You know, they'll be able to die in comfort because they own their own home. And it was amazing the other week that we saw Boris Johnson started talking about freeing up the middle class housing market. Did you see that story? I thought,
No.
what a time to mention it.
Yeah, especially after his debacle about the redecorating his flat or whatever.
Yeah, but then he's saying, oh, there'll be investment and sort of tax breaks for people who want to buy their own homes and burst. I thought, Jesus, man, how the hell can you resurrect the property market? But I suppose some people have done all right out of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
it is another way as well to generate more debt, which the current system is all built upon debt. So if their economic system is struggling, the amplification of debt will help reduce the progress of inflation, reduce the progress of deflation of the value of the economy, if that makes sense. You know, in effect, rather than injecting a load of money in their kind of quantitative easing methods, they're getting people to put the money into a form of debt by getting a mortgage, etc. You know, that's adding into the economy instead.
I'll tell you another thing I've noticed as well. I've said it before, you know, I've been learning the language of eyes, you know, because everybody's got a mask on. And you've got to try and turn these situations to your own advantage. So, yeah, for me, it's been a good thing to sort of be able to read people's eyes. Now, I don't even bother trying to read people's bodies sometimes. I literally just walk around looking for the smile that's in people's eyes, and, you know, I'm on their wavelengths. Yeah, because there's a lot of people like that. It's a friendly place, Catalonia. And once you recognise the smile in somebody's eyes, you're okay. But another thing I've noticed is with the social distancing as well. People on the street, you know, they try to keep a distance, and people have become much more aware of their aura. But some people are using that as a weapon. You know, you go a little bit too close to them on the street, you can almost physically feel them pushing you away with their aura because you're getting too close, social distancing. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I was aware of my social distancing like fucking 10 years ago. You've only been fucking aware of it for the last year. You know, don't be fucking spiritually giving me a punch in the face. Because that's what it, you know, that's what it's like. It's like a push from some people. They're becoming, you know, like bumper cars when you was a kid, yeah? But 6 foot away, social distancing bumper cars.
I felt it was appropriate when you were saying about the eyes, you know, looking for the smile in people's eyes. I thought it was appropriate to show this image again.
Oh, that left one is definitely a perpetual cry, isn't it? Yeah. But I tell you as well, I saw the picture on, I think it was Monday you had it, or last week, the picture of Ghislaine Maxwell, yeah, and she was looking really, really sad, yeah, but did you notice that she spent about 2 hours on that fucking mascara on her eyebrows? They were perfectly plucked, yeah? Each hair had been individually cut to the right length. And that made me think, well, she spent that much time on the eyebrows, how do you know those bruises, those shadows in the eyes aren't fucking tea bags? Yeah, and she's done the whole makeup, yeah, to make her look sad. But of course, her pride won't allow her to have straggly eyebrows. So they are perfect But the
That
bags
was
under her eyes.
that was an image that they were showing in all the news media here. Yeah, that was the picture that was included on the. I'm not sure which one Peter used, Daily Mail or Telegraph or something. The news article that it was on.
Yeah, well, she's made herself look like that, I think.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It's highly suspect that at the moment they put out an image like that, or to just try and elicit sympathy, or like Wiener Stein turning up to the court with his what do they call them? The Zimmer frame.
I don't know, man. It's a little bit more like that. Fifth episode of the Nevers. I've been watching that, the Nevers, about these women that were given powers in like a Victorian England, and there's a public hanging, and everybody wants to go to it. It's more like that, yeah. I mean, there are people who are going to see Ghislaine and say, "Good, bitch deserves it." And they're right, yeah. I mean, she was a nasty piece. Oh, Brian Harvey has been really digging, yeah. He's really been digging into some stuff lately, and he's getting his head, well focused.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this, what was it called? The Outer Edge or something. It was an old radio program.
Right.
Edge Production Media. Yeah. And I looked at the wiki page, and Ian R. Crane and Brian Gerrish from UK Column, they had appeared on it. And Puddick was on there ages and ages ago when he had his show, yeah? And there was a guy called Alex G. Do you know who he is?
The name rings a bell. Did he used to do the Doom show?
Yeah, maybe. And there was a Theo something, Edge Media it was called. Yeah, but
Right.
anyway, it was just weird that this guy that was interviewing Puddick 12 years ago was on this same Channel 4 spin-off media company. Yeah, and that in itself seems to have dissolved and gone in different directions. And right now it's called Open Edge Media, and it's on the Gaia platform. Yeah, run by a woman. I can't remember what her name is. Yeah, but I'll look that up and put some links in the Skype later, because it's, you see all the old names like Gerrish and that lot. They were all in at the beginning of it. And so, yeah, I think there's a few more that you could trace out of that lot.
Oh yeah, more likely. Huh? There's some of them that have been around for a long time.
Oh man, it's funny when you see, like, there's this woman. She used to be a journalist with the News of the World, Christine Joanna Hart, and she's kind of been attacking Brian. And before her, there was Angela Powers Disney trying to attack Brian Harvey, and they're all trying to jump on him so they can steer him. Yeah, it's funny as fuck when I see them all coming on and trying to steer him. Sharon Gale as well. I mean, I don't trust her. I think she's in with them. Yeah.
I'm
she
still
needs the money, so she'll do what they say, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm still of the same opinion I've been for years. Be as agnostic as you can be. Trust no one. Listen to everyone. Follow no one. You can develop a preference for people. You can develop trust for people if they've been consistent in your experience. Every interaction you have with them and stuff like that. But really, don't put implicit trust into faces and talking heads on the internet. You shouldn't be doing that.
It really is.
Chat are saying Alex G died in 2019.
Yeah, it could be. But he was one of the ones in that. Yeah, but it seems strange to me that this alternative media for the internet was actually a spin-off from Channel 4, a program that used to be on Channel 4. Yeah.
There was a few. What was the one that Richard D. Hall always used to appear on? Because he had his own section on one of those cable TV platforms for a good while as well.
It could have been the same one. Yeah, it was one of the first. Yeah.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah.
It kind of on the Edge was one of the sections from it, but there was like 4 different sections that they used to do. Yeah. I'll tell you who else. It's about the information, like you're saying. So, Corbett Report. At the moment, Derek Rose of the Consciousness Resistance, his YouTube channels are down, but he's bringing out a new series called The Pyramid of Power, and it's 27 parts. Second part is out tonight. It's airing live, most of these you can watch for free. Yeah, it's quite easy to get a link from the Consciousness Resistance Network. I'll put a link in just a moment when I shut up. But the first episode was called Big Education, and it was about the Prussian education system. And even back when I was bringing it in 1910, 1920, there were American politicians coming out and saying, this is wrong. You're not educating people, you're just teaching them how to be factory workers. They were saying it, over 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good episode, yeah. Of course, it was Rockefeller who was financing a lot of this, yeah.
I'm trying to find a direct link rather than a blooming redirect link. Right, okay, that one will do. That's straight off their website, and there you go. That's conscious resistance. Just as Tony put it in, well, Tony's put it in the website link for you. The one I put in takes you to the episode 1 of Pyramid of Power.
That's good. The episode 2, he's working with somebody you mentioned the other day, Mark Pascio. Mm-hmm. And it was about a year ago we was all saying about how Mark Pascio was making these videos that were really angry. Well, it looks like he's still got that anger, but he's managed to focus it in a way that lets you understand why he's angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because people may be waking up, but they're not waking their neighbour up.
Yeah, I never misunderstood his anger. It was just the fact that I'm aware that for many people they found it difficult to cope with the information he was trying to present, because he would always have that kind of anger way of presenting things. For a lot of people, they don't appreciate being shouted at to be given a bit of information. But I get why he's so passionate about it. Yeah, and he's been saying a hell of the same kind of stuff we've been talking about for years. I was quite interested as well on that last little, well, I say little, it's like over an hour long, the last video he put up. Because at the one part he mentions about something that I talked about a while ago. The external world is deterministic, your internal world is free will. And it's part of the deception and the misdirection that the system has been playing on people for centuries, that it's got to be one or the other and the two don't coexist. So you've had this in philosophy, because this is where I first started looking at this kind of information when I was studying philosophy in the 90s and noughties. The constant thousands of years of philosophical argument about determinism and free will, and the way it's presented through the academia, to the people being educated, is that it's got to be either or. They've got to be completely separate. And it's like, no, it's not. They're both in operation at the same time. That is the way reality works. But it makes that point because it's foundational and intrinsic to the problem that rises out of that crooked foundation that's given to people to base all their thinking on. So you're using a broken toolbox, because we're given this foundational expectation that either everything's deterministic, in other words, there's nothing you can do, you're just a puppet in a play, or everything's free will, which means you're forever at the problem of chaos and the universe is all just chaotic and therefore you don't stand a chance.
Yeah. I mean, it's understanding how much of it is deterministic and the boundaries of the deterministic world.
Between the two, yeah.
Yeah, Ouspensky used to say, he had a lot of really simple, condensed sayings that mean a lot. Things like recognition and compliance, like gravity. We recognize fundamental laws that make a lot of things deterministic and comply with them, because there's no
substance and attribute. It's the same kind of thing, substance and attribute.
Yeah, recognize gravity and comply to it. because you can't change it. Yeah, you're not going to change
Yeah.
it, no matter how much thinking you do. So
Yeah.
when there is a law that you can't change, go with it. Comply, recognition, and compliance, and that's
the-
where you find the chinks.
That's true
Yeah.
natural law.
Mm.
Yeah, not the judicial system version of natural law.
Yeah, this was the controversial TV is the wiki page.
Right, right, yeah,
I was talking about. And this channel launched in 2008 after the founder Kenneth Goodyear acquired the MTV. Ownership dispute, vision. Okay, programming. On the Edge was a chat show which included Frankie Marr and Theo Chalmers. He was the guy interviewing Puddick. I kind of recognised him. And then you've got, it was initially presented by Frankie Marr, then there's Theo Chalmers and Alex G, whose name's been read out. Show every week, the first three being Ian R. Crane, read it out, Andy Thomas and Brian Gerrish, read it out. So they've read those names out. On the Edge now is being run by some woman from Gaia, like I said, so somebody's brought the name up. And then you find other shows produced by Edge Media Television.
Are those names the ones that have been readied out? Are they hyperlinked?
Alex G just goes to somebody else called Alex G, who is either a sportsman or something else. Yeah. Brian Gerrish, what do we get for Brian Gerrish?
I was just curious whether it's readied because the page for it no longer exists or something.
Yeah, you could try Wayback Machine for that, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's not that I want to look. I'm just curious in the sense of have Wikipedia removed their pages.
It wouldn't surprise me. Oh, but this is what as well caught my eye. The vast majority of episodes are broadcast live with viewer interaction, telephone calls, text messaging. Guests to include David Icke, former MI5 officer David Shaler, comedian Arthur Smith, the Reverend Lionel Fanthorpe, Jim Core, and John Hemming MP. So anyway, just seeing David Shaler there, yeah, and right next to David Icke, it's sort of, yeah, it's like these people needed, they needed a channel to broadcast their stuff, yeah, and the books.
Yeah, but you can also look at it from the point of view of the media company or the people who wanted to run a media company, but from the business point of view, they're looking at it as like, well, there's these people out there who have a wealth of things to talk about, whether you consider what they say to be true or just fantastical or whatever, that's not the point. They are like a resource. Yeah, and if we set up the business to exploit that resource, we don't make the content, they make the content for us. We just create the platform to host that content. So I get the point that there's a lot of repetition to the names and faces that turn up in these circles. But at the same time, I think it could also be pointed at that this is just an exploitation of that kind of commercial marketplace. There's some business people who want to make money by putting somebody who can talk for 8 hours at a time, like David Icke, putting somebody like him in front of an audience. They know he's going to attract an audience, and then they make their money, with advertising and everything. I think I'm not saying it's one or the other, like the free will determinism thing. It's a mixture of both.
Yeah, I've just spotted something here. There's the acquisition of EMTV Limited included their Ofcom broadcast license. So this was coming on the tail end of like everybody's like, oh, now we've got channel television. Why isn't there a decent channel out there? It's kind of exactly what you were saying. So this wasn't really an internet thing.
It was cable TV. Man.
Yeah.
I can remember it way back to the 90s. It began when they started bringing the cable TV concept into the UK. Well, I say it began. For us here in the UK, with people like that Edge TV, it was late 90s when they started rolling out cable TV and Sky to everyone. And then all of a sudden you had these little independent media channels. Somebody did put it in the chat a minute ago, but like the one that Richard D. Hall was on.
It might be related because it was brought up by Sky at some point, or they started putting out their programs. So this one only ran for 5 years. Yeah, and there are some small cable channels as long as they can cover good stuff. Yeah, like crafts and different, like wood carving and different stuff like that. As long as they don't cover the controversial stuff. So there are niche channels.
Richard D. Hall had a channel on Sky. Thanks, Nick GB in the chat. Yeah, I thought he was on Sky. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I can't think of it now. But yeah, that's all I'm trying to point at is like the fact that you keep seeing the same names. I sort of had this kind of experience back in the 90s when I started getting the books by people like David Icke. And, I saw that kind of media marketplace environment at the time before the rise of the internet, really took off. When you used to get that kind of information via newspapers or magazines more than anything, so there's like Fortune Times and New Scientist and things like that. You'd see the same names again and again and again, like David Icke, Jim Mars,
Conspiracy Theorist Weekly.
Yes, yeah, it is a marketplace unto itself that caters to a demographic that prior to the internet was fairly small worldwide, in terms of like a business marketplace. It wasn't exactly a whole lot of people. But since the internet and the ease of being able to exchange information like that and in effect self-publish, because somebody like David Icke no longer has to go to a big publishing house and get them to print his books, whatever, he could self-publish onto the internet. Thanks to that demographic has risen tremendously, Combine that with the fact that they've purposefully wanted to trendify the whole concept of conspiracy theories so that they could play out this hyper-normalization narrative. We talked about that a lot over the years.
In a sense, when I mentioned that it was only up to 5 years, it almost brings us back to what we were saying about determinism and free will. It's like they let free will go for about 5 years and then they deterministically come along and close it all down again.
Yeah. I like, in the past I referred to it as cropping. Yeah, in a business model sense, they allow certain areas to flourish until they become oversaturated. The marketplace becomes crowded and then it starts to go into a bubble, and then they come along and crop off all the profits and introduce licenses or some other kind of governmental control on that area, and they do it purposefully in that fashion. They stoke things up and then come along and take what they want.
There was a channel that you gave me a link to a few months back, and they do philosophical things, and they're like the psychology of taking down a tyranny and things like that. Do you remember what channel that was? Because they had one up the other day. But the guy, he's really keen for some reason on Nietzsche. Yeah.
I think I know you mean. I'll have to find it to get the name.
It's
something ideas.
It's not too far away on the thing. It was only 2 or 3 days ago that it was up. Yeah. But the fact was, he keeps Evolution Smith has got another one up as well.
I know I haven't had the time to watch it yet, but his stuff's always worth a listen.
It's a rehash of what he's been doing, but it was a long time since I saw his last one. But the thing is, this guy he likes
the Academy of Ideas.
The Academy of Ideas. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can stop looking for it now. He likes to quote Nietzsche a lot. Yeah, and the first thing I'd say about Nietzsche is what happened to him? He ended up killing himself. Well, I don't think much of that philosophy, whatever it was. But the other thing is, have you ever been reading down a comment about under a video about vaccines and that, and somebody says, "Oh, I think the sheep are stupid. If they're stupid enough to go and get the vaccine, they deserve to die." That is a Nietzschean comment.
Yeah.
That is the kind of guy Nietzsche was. Yeah. And I don't think you can take that attitude. You know, you can never lose your compassion, and you know you've got to keep forgiving these people. You know, even the ones that psychically give you a shove in the chest in the street to keep you social distanced. You've got to forgive them, you know, and just hope that they wake up tomorrow, because one day they might do.
Personally, I mean, yeah, again, like the free will argument and whatever, these kind of arguments have been going on for thousands of years. But in terms of Nietzsche, I disagree with a lot of people's interpretations of Nietzsche. When you first shown his work, he seems really, really dark and very pessimistic and very, I want to say nihilistic, but that's exactly what I mean. Often his perception is misinterpreted as being pessimistic to the point of nihilism. And I think that is a misinterpretation. The thing that I find difficult with him is he did seem to get stuck and obsessed with that concept of existentialism, you know, of do I actually exist? What can I prove that exists to myself? And what is that in this reality other than myself?
Well, Rodney Collin, when Nietzsche talks about becoming a Superman, and Rodney Collin reckons that along with Byron, I think and Shelley, a couple of German painters from around the 1870s or so, and Nietzsche and a few other people, they had all visited the guy who was going to teach Gurdjieff about higher consciousness. Yeah, and some of them kind of got it. And people like Byron and Shelley, and he looks at one guy's work and he says that you can tell the difference between this guy. What was the guy's name? The one that he was a Swede. Faust? Not the play. Yeah.
Faust, Dr. Faustus.
No, not the play Dr. Faustus. It was a guy who... he did Peer Gynt, I think. Anyway, him. Yeah, he says that if you look at his work before he went to Italy, to this school of consciousness, and afterwards, you know, you can tell the difference. The guy has become a lot more conscious. And, you know, working on self, doing that inner work, is in a way taking that path to becoming a superhuman. Somebody that can, somebody that can rise above the pettiness of day-to-day things. And Nietzsche had those ideas. He knew the reality of them. He'd probably seen other men, but he just never made that step himself.
Nietzsche did drugs.
Yeah.
So he could never, he can never sort of detach himself from the negative things around him, which you have to do. Yeah? Don't let them affect you so much. He's the kind of guy who would have ended up shouting at his television, I think.
To understand Nietzsche, you have to have taken drugs, and a lot of it.
And it's that why I say I think he got stuck on that kind of question of what does really exist beyond myself, what can I prove to myself kind of thing, because he didn't make that progress. So he's forever in that situation of trying to achieve godhood, basically. It can be seen as being quite dark and pessimistic, but I don't think that's really what he was stuck on. He was stuck on kind of the Descartes conundrum, of am I spirit or am I man? And that perpetual pursuit of the Ubermensch, of the Superman, is kind of like trying to create a physical transition to your true spiritual self, which is, ultimately powerful like a super being, but trying to have that in this realm. That's why I think that's why I say he got stuck on existentialism.
Well, I would say the soul, the spirit, sits within the body like a bulb within a lampshade.
I like the radio signal, the radio signal analogy, and your physical body is like an antenna, and your soul is part of that, like the signal coming into a radio receiver. If you destroy the radio receiver, the signal doesn't disappear.
Yeah, but it's a transceiver, and not only does it receive, but it transmits as well. Yes. And you need good filters. Yeah. So your body, your personality are the filter for your soul. That way other people can see your light shining. They can hear that you're talking from spirit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, that means cleaning up your character, your personality. Yeah. It means letting that light shine out. Mm-hmm. And So yeah. Oh, what was I going to mention? That guy who did the long video the other day, 5-hour video. You talk about a Superman. Once you've got that spirit, if you think you've got it, you've got a confidence, yeah, that allows you to do certain things. Now, in that 5-hour video, the X Factor guy who's telling you all about the Freemason secrets, he related a story how Buddha actually once said that if he was walking down the road in a state of meditation and he walked past a woman that was being raped, he'd just keep walking. He'd ignore it. He wouldn't want it to disturb his meditative state. Now, can you imagine Jesus doing that? So there's the difference between a man who has sort of become a higher version of man and a man that hasn't. Buddha hasn't. Yeah, you can't walk past something that's being raped. Yeah,
no, it's detachment from this realm.
Yeah, Buddha needs to be flushed. I'm telling you, it's no good. The man was a psyop. Yeah, it was probably MI5. I mean, you can't walk past somebody like that. Yeah, so people are misunderstanding this detachment.
Camille.
Here
Hello.
I am. Hello.
Hello.
So sorry if I got the timing wrong again.
It's my fault for trusting to Google to answer my question about the time difference and for not paying attention to what the time difference is regularly.
See, I thought when you said you wanted to start at 6, as in roll back 2 hours, what the original time was that we'd said. That's what made me think like, you meant 6 p.m. here then. So, okay.
I did. I'm sorry, everyone.
That's all right. We've just been chatting and catching up on the situation over in Spain. Now that they've no longer got the curfew. And then, as we often do, we digressed into other subjects and we're just having a chat about Nietzsche and existentialism. Yeah,
nice.
That angst, that philosophical angst that many people have now been thrown into because of the last year's situation.
Yeah. Well, and I told Venomnymous that I'm here and that we're early from what I told him. So
I know he'll be at work when if he can make it. That's great.
Holidays are another thing that take us, existentialism, take us back to that. Because a lot of people would sort of work, for their holiday, and they would kind of, head down, what do they call it in English? Put your head to the grindstone until holiday comes. And that's the time when you get to really, enjoy yourself for a few weeks. Well, people are now beginning to look at a future where there are no holidays anymore.
I do agree with you, but I think that's part of what they've been deliberately playing on now coming into summer. This is why they've been drip feeding the story, the script into the media here, saying things like, we're in discussions about a green list, as in a list of countries that will be okay for you to travel to. Whereas, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm certainly confident that I already knew they were going to be doing something like that with this agenda, and they're planning to transition people onto these new digital passports, etc. So them talking about it being in discussion of a green list is to sow the seed of hope for those little holiday breaks. So like you say, people have spent the last year locked down with their nose against the grindstone. They're desperate to be able to go away somewhere. So I'll say the government, just for ease of explanation, the government is deliberately dangling that cheese bait in front of them.
Well, that absolutely chimes in with what I wanted to say, because let's stand back from this situation. The government has said, okay, well, you're going to have to be locked in your own home. And then they're going to stand back and say, look, see how hard it is to amuse yourselves? You see how much you need us to help you entertain yourselves? You see how useless you are on your own? Did you use the lockdown time to learn how to cook? To make a loaf of bread? Did you start a craft? Did you build a ship out of matchsticks? No, you didn't do any of those things. You can't do anything for yourself, can you? This is what the government is sort of, trying to impress on people. They're trying to make people more dependent on them.
Yeah. That again is where it comes out. That's why I agreed with you, man, when you said Monday about people being forced into that existential crisis.
Yeah,
That's exactly that point. It's like, what is my life worth? Am I one of the non-essentials? Yeah.
How can I amuse myself? How can I survive? You know, they talk about the preppers. Oh, we went and lived off grid, and people think, oh, that might be nice. Yeah, how did you do in the fucking year of the fucking lockdown? You know, did you teach yourself basket weaving? I bet there were very few people that done anything like that. Yeah, they were just sat waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah, for the government to tell them what to do, to tell them it's all over. It's really a sort of punishment thing. Yeah, so watching a dog being trained.
I think
sad.
That's also a really good segue into the subtitle of Time's Up. Yeah, because a lot of that has been them deliberately playing on people's hopes and desires, their dreams. You know, most of what has been taken away from people is things that are in reality a luxury for many of the things, like international holidays and stuff like that. But they're not exactly a luxury when it comes to making the rest of your life bearable, such that you do actually have a fairly good standard of living, a contentment, of satisfaction with your life. Those extra luxuries are what give you that sense, that completion kind of thing. So they deliberately remove those. And they've constantly been using them as bait, dragging them along of like, oh, just 2 weeks, just 2 more weeks, just get the jab, just get the passport, and you'll get it back again. It's playing with time, playing with people's emotions through a method of stretching time, if that makes sense. Now time's up. Now it's all coming to a head, and it's catching up with them. They have to start giving people some decisions. Yeah, are they going to let us all out again?
Do you have no sympathy for the poor people who couldn't go on the snow holidays in Swiss Alps and on the summer holiday in the south of France? Huh? The poor people have to stay home.
You all must be special. I don't know the last time I took a vacation. Is this a regular thing over there? And I just heard from Venomnymous. He's coming.
Cool. Good. I was going to ask if you got a way to contact him, because the email address I had for him has gone out of my address book for some reason.
Oh.
Well, it's mainly those people who stand in line now for the jabby jab. So yeah. Because they think they can get their freedom back, so they can go on their holidays.
Yeah,
that's the main drive, I think. What I see for why people are doing this.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of people, it's worked out that way, where they weren't initially interested in getting the vaccination for health reasons, but now the situation is such that, well, you're not allowed to go on holiday or whatever unless you do
that
get
changed
it.
Today. That changed. You are allowed, but you have to oblige by the codes, right? So the color codes, and all countries in the world are orange, and some of them are red. So everywhere where you go, you have to be tested when you go. You have to get tested when you get back, and you have to go in 10-day quarantine when you get back from your holiday. Yeah. And you can get a test after 5 days of that quarantine to see if you're negative, and then you can go out early. But still, right? It's another £100 or €100 test that you have to do to get 5 days off, basically. Mm-hmm. So you can pay for that privilege. So if you go on an 8-day holiday, it's a fucking 18-day stay, basically.
Including extra charges.
Yeah, so all the employers are now fucking upset and like, how are we going to manage this? And there's a clause in the insurance companies are not insuring holiday goers anymore, because they're not willing to take the risk when a country goes red, right? Yeah. So you cannot get a insurance basically when you want to go on holiday. So that's kind of fucked up.
They might start selling it.
It's a total mess. Even if you are vaccinated, it doesn't help. You still have to do all the tests and all the hoops and the lockdown, the quarantining. It's crazy.
It's
So,
Venomnymous.
have fun going on holiday, you know.
Hey. How's it going?
Hello. Not too bad, thanks, mate. Glad you made it.
Yeah. I guess got the wrong time there. No big deal.
Yeah.
It's all cool. It's all good here.
We spoke. Well, I say we. I shouldn't put it on to everyone else. I'm supposed to be able to read the time, and I still keep making the same mistakes with getting the international times coordinated.
It's fitting given the subject of the show. So my time was up, and I
didn't even know. I just checked the computer and I saw you were live, and I'm like, oh no.
Time's up. You're supposed to be here.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello to everyone in the chat as well. I'm sorry I didn't think to say hello at the start, and thanks Tony for putting the links in. I did try the link for Jeff's channel earlier and it wasn't working. So I'm not sure if that link is now defunct or what's happened to the channel. Is it just the link that's broken, or have they took his channel down there?
I have not checked in a while, so who knows? Someone might want to go check that out.
Yeah, it's been at least since the last show, I think, since I checked it. Yes, so unfortunately, the link that's in the little blurb that says for Jeff Censored channel doesn't seem to be working anymore, folks.
I was trying to look up some of Jeff's videos on Time's Up, and I just was having trouble doing it. Couldn't find anything. I know he was very concerned about back in like 2018 or whatever. He was very concerned that the symbolism for the clock symbolism was a sign that there was time was up kind of thing, and the Time's Up movement and all that stuff. He was very concerned about that. So I think he was right.
Yeah. It was also some of the talking heads. I don't know if this went out sort of internationally. I know I saw a bit of it here, and I think it was primarily connected to the Extinction Rebellion. When they first really sort of started up and started, I was going to say gaining momentum, but most of it is, what do they call it? Greenwashed, astroturfed. Sorry, that was the phrase I was trying to think of. It. Most of it is astroturfed. So, they didn't exactly gain steam. They were just sort of put out there the way it was. But anyway, they used that concept and that phrase. Yeah. And they made quite a stink of it, of like, time's up, there's no more time anymore. We're in an emergency. It's a climate crisis and all that kind of narrative. And they seem to drop that slogan very rapidly. Certainly, I think, before we got to the actual announcements about the COVID shenanigans. But yeah, it was sort of seeded into some of the talking heads, talking points, mostly, as far as I remember, connected to Extinction Rebellion. But I'm sure I heard other talking heads sort of dropping it as a slogan, as they do, TikTok, time's up.
I'll put a link into the chat in a minute of Evolution Smith and the occult significance, of the coronavirus and everything else, Yeah, and cool. in it, he talks about the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which happens every 20 years, and the fact that it happened in Pluto, and it happened in Capricorn, which is an Earth sign. Sorry, not Capricorn. It happened in Aquarius, and this was the first time, because the Jupiter-Saturn connection, for some strange reason, kind of happens in 5 earth signs, one after another, and then it starts happening in 5 air signs. That's not exact, but it's close. So this is the Great Reset, and he says that was the Great Reset back in December 2020, wasn't it, or was it January, when we had the Saturn Jupiter conjunction? And these people, they're very much into their astrology, and he draws all these connections with that. So
I recommend if you put the link in for the last one he put up, check his channel and look for the earlier ones as well. I'm not sure if it was the last one he did, the number 4. It might have been the one before that, but he does go into specifically that conjunction time period, that cycle. So if you want to check in about that information, go and check his videos out. He's certainly done a great job putting it together. I've noted as well. I remember we talked about this however many weeks ago when he put it out. It's that connection to the Venus cycle as well, the Venusian cycle, because that's a base 20 cycle, and that's why a lot of the older cultures focused on tracking Venus, because it seemed to have this kind of how can I put it? It's like a measuring stick for the solar cycles, for the cycles of the rest of the solar system, yeah. But
it's also like an extended.
That Saturn conjunction fits in nicely on that base 20 calculation.
It's also a very schizophrenic, polarized thing, Venus, because sometimes it's the morning star, sometimes it's the evening star. So people would have tried to make sense of what was going on in those terms, because when you see something like this, Venus, sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes. Well, is it any different? Are things any different when Venus is in the morning? This is, people try to understand the world around them. This is where a lot of the religious ideas come from. Yeah. Not all these esoteric ideas and planetary astrology ideas are bad. A lot of them are misguided, but they all came basically. I mean, you go back a few thousand years, there were bad people, but I don't think there was any sort of like intelligent evil there is the way there is today. People were just trying to understand what was going on, and they used every measuring stick that they could find. So,
Camille, tell us about this.
Oh, this is that Time's Up movement. This is and you keep saying Venus, isn't the thing? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Isn't that a book or something? And now they're selling it as the ladies' time.
Yeah.
And a song.
And a song, yeah.
Oh, I don't know the song.
This is it's a massive subject matter, but just to add this, it's also part of that them controlling the sacred feminine. Because they've been playing out, you might not see it in like mainstream narratives, but in the kind of background, in the New Age church kind of demographic, they've been playing out this narrative that they need to bring back the sacred feminine as if it had been lost or as if it was being suppressed. And this is where it adds into current cultural, social narratives about women being oppressed and needing to come forward. The way I perceived it and tried to explain it is it's like the corporate appropriation of the sacred feminine divine energy and them turning it into a narrative that they're using to manipulate different demographics.
Christ, I've seen this over in, I've seen this in Barcelona. There are two aspects to this feminism. There is one, the fact that these girls here are now going to be full of ego. Oh, they've given us a suit. Oh, they've given us a powerful position. Oh, we're special now. Without, stopping and thinking, a man has given you that. You know what I mean? A man like Klaus Schwab. You're being used. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not. And they'll go to their mirror and check their makeup. So this is about, they're pushing the feminine thing because they know their egos. Any apologies if I need to, Camille, but women are very susceptible to that kind of thing. You give men positions in this kind of thing, in this kind of organisation, they'll just accept it. Well, we're men, yes, we're the ones who are supposed to be in charge. It won't be anything special, but these women will jump at the chance, and they'll defend, the fact that they've been given a higher position. And the other thing is the aggression of women that I've been seeing. Yeah, they're much more aggressive now. Yeah, you see these feminist marches, and it doesn't look natural to me. Put it that way.
There could be a whole lot we could say about why that seems to be happening. But Camille, I'll let you respond to what you're saying about the Time's Up movement.
Oh, well, what just came to mind was how they keep installing women into positions of power in companies, but sometimes it's trannies. That's funny. That's when they're like, oh, I still want to be in power, so I got to become a woman. But on the Time's Up thing, I had been thinking about it, and then it turned out VenomnymouS had been thinking about it, and we had all of these things that we had both been looking at on the Time's Up, and then I was pushing for you guys to read that book. involving time too. But this was, yeah, Jeff was all over it. The TikTok time's up. He definitely called it coming, and now it's time they're going to change the world. And I have another thing here that is the time to transform. This is for the Vision 2050, but this just came out in March, and it's the from the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. So this is like all the corporations. This is how the companies will change the world for us. It's like 3M, which is totally raked it in with the whole scam going on with them.
You notice the way they've split the word trans. Form,
yeah.
So they're tying all these things together subliminally as well.
Assume you're transform, because you could take those words as being totally separate words. Your form is now that of a trans. You are a trans form.
And trans is also beyond. So it'll be like, this is moving us into the digital space, even to beyond your form. Yeah. But this is characters like Bayer and Microsoft and Nestle and Shell and Unilever. The Unilever CEO, he was saying, I have all this stuff written down. He was saying,
was this at the Davos?
I don't know. I was subscribed to these people, and it just popped up in my. I don't know where else they came from.
It's just because like the date on it's only 25th of March, and like you said, this has only just sort of started. I wonder if this has come out of the recent Davos meeting.
It may have. I mean, it's all the companies, and that Unilever CEO guy saying that the companies need to build this ecosystem of action, creating an unstoppable movement towards 2050. And the things that they want to do, I have all kinds of them written down here. It's just like the synthetic biology future, circular everything where there is no waste, and all of the food and the water and that does bring in the World Economic Forum, actually, because one of the things they're pushing is this 50-liter home. Like, the average home uses way more water than that, and they want everyone to stick to 50 liters and per day or whatever. And they're going to do these non-traditional water resources, which, gray water, you could do that. But to force everybody to be in that, and that the World Economic Forum is one of their core partners.
They have been, for the past several years, certainly here in the UK, I'm not sure if this has been happening elsewhere, but they've been steadily rolling out water meters and encouraging people to switch to using a water metered connection. So similar to how a smart meter works for your electricity, a water meter can more accurately count your consumption. And they've done the usual kind of process where they offer people incentives and discounts and things like this to have one fitted. And for most of the people I know who've had one, they said, they've benefited, they've saved money from having it.
They give you the option?
Yeah.
They just come and
at the moment
here.
Yeah, that's the thing. At the moment, it is still optional, but it adds into what you're saying now. They're talking about introducing a quota, a limit. That kind of metering technology means they'll be able to implement a limit. Once you go over that amount, they might start charging you extra or whatever.
But I mentioned
I think
on
it'll just be
Monday.
straight up cut off.
I mentioned on
water.
I mentioned on Monday, how there are towns here where, they run these things out in some towns and then others. They're putting RFID chips in people's garbage. And the sad thing is, the real answer to this is take your own bags or use paper bags at the local fruit and vegetable shop, come back and compost it yourself. But people won't do that. People can't see what's coming down the line. You don't have to put all your rubbish in plastic rubbish in a plastic bag, have it weighed, and then have them charge you for it. You could make an effort now, do those changes now, have your own compost heap, or find one person in your community somewhere, who does have a garden and a compost heap, and say, hey, how about I bring my things to you? And you could reduce your own waste in a good way, voluntarily. So, there are those who are going to say, well, somebody has to do this because people aren't doing it themselves. And there is a grain of truth in that. And that's the sad thing about this. We're letting them do this to us. And we should have been making more of an effort. Well, not just us, but like everybody could have been making more of an effort. So they wouldn't have had the excuses to roll these things out.
They programmed people into being this way too, and now all the education and everything is pointing and leading people toward you have to give your trash to these systems that are going to be built to reuse them and to put them to the best use.
Yeah. My city rolled out a new garbage system where they delivered a composting bin, a cart or whatever on wheels, and a garbage cart on wheels, and they have a new system now. I only have to do it, and if we don't do it the way that they want us to, then they just won't pick up our trash. But I have my own composting bin, so I don't need their stupid compost. But they do break down meat and bone stuff, so I guess that's useful.
You can plant melons on that. You dig a big deep hole, they say, and then put melon seeds on top after you put the dirt back in with your meats.
I'll get some pigs.
Yeah,
You're not allowed
I'll
to
get
dig in
pigs.
the city.
Oh, right.
Not that deep. Not that deep. But it's crazy. The education and the push for the children into this whole the bioeconomy and the circular everything. I've got it on the list of things to show, not today, but it's so crazy. And they're teaching the parents right along, like the children are bringing the information to teach the parents on this new way because you did it all wrong.
Yeah.
But they say
Sorry,
it is getting very, very much like Orwell's 1984, where the parents are being monitored by the children, and in effect, whether they're doing it directly, maybe not necessarily, but indirectly, they are reporting back to their teachers, because the teachers will educate them in such a way that they'll ask, like, do your family do this kind of thing, or do they not follow the suggested sustainable development goals, etc.? And of course, all the children just want to get good grades and be teachers' favorite and whatever. So they're giving them the information, saying, "Yeah, my dad never sorts the rubbish out; he always just throws it out, or whatever." So in effect, they are policing the entire family via the children, and then they're putting the children in that position. Yeah?
It's not 1984 fiction; it's North Korean fact.
Yes,
that's
again,
East Germany, or
again, they're appealing to the kids' ego by giving them power instead of an education, which is kind of what we received. There's no doubt that you go back 50 years, there was a better education than 40, 30, 20 millennials. Their education isn't that good at all, really. And so instead of giving the kids an education, they're just giving them a programming direct. It's all become much heavier, the programming.
Kabir, is there anything on that page about what they're doing in terms of education? Does it mention anything about them, sending out work packs for schools or things like that?
Well, I wrote down some key things from the big paper here about it, because they say that this document, they said that it defines the system change that will be necessary. So I'd have to flip through to find one specifically about education. I printed it out here, or most of it. But I do know that they're talking in here how they're going to transition people more to value access more than ownership and all that sort of thing. Like it's 2030 and I don't own anything, and that they're moving
everything into a service.
Yes, everything.
A service.
And they say that the companies and the governments and the people are going to have to move in a 3-legged lockstep to make this happen. Yeah.
You thought the masks were bad enough.
That is such subtle NLP of like, our dick's bigger than yours. Yeah. So this is what's going to be put down on you. We've got 3 legs. You've only got 2.
They're talking about shackles, man. You thought the mask was bad. This is actual shackles they're talking about.
And they're saying how the governments and the businesses are going to invest in building these systems for the rapid development and approval and delivery of safe and effective vaccines, and treatments to tackle all the fast moving cooties that are running through the world now, which scream to me the printers, Venomnymous, that they'll get those out there. But and they have to and increase the disease surveillance. Well, the bioprinters are everything for the new medicine that they're putting out. You know, eventually that Teva Pharmaceuticals out of Israel, they said, what, 3 or 4 years ago, I watched that one video on the Milken Institute where they showed the printer in your house, you know, and in your body, and you're what they printed for you didn't do enough, and so we just release the next dose from inside of you. It's a fun video. And that they're working with this synthetic biology and digital health to make this step change on everything. Just like they talked about with the plants, when they change the tiny life inside of the plants, they don't need to genetically engineer them. They get their step change through the life.
And this as well is part of the reason why I've been so adamant about them not needing to put a chip inside you. Yeah, because there's been that constant thread all year, and they're still trying to play it out now. Yeah, I know the system will happily inject a tracking chip into you if you let them.
I don't know that they need to inject it. You know,
exactly.
I'm looking at all this stuff for this huge ongoing thing that just I can't seem to wrap up. I don't think it's going to involve injection either. So, although I
think again, this is part of the psychological war, and I've talked about ego a lot, but the idea of a chip, it appeals to people's egos, like they're going to chip me, the individual. They don't even see you as an individual. You're a number. For them, it's a statistics game. You know, can we cut the population by 30%? They don't care whose name is in the 30%. They don't care about these things. They just care about making sure they have control over like 90% of people. The rest would be good. The rest would be a healthy ghetto. Where creative things take place.
Or a control group. Because I know that's been certainly people have brought it up over the last year. You know, in this ongoing experiment that they've been doing, because it is, by their own words, an experiment, then in the way they're operating it, according to them, there is no control group. So all those people who don't have the injection, don't have the vaccine, are the control group. And I might have talked about this in one of the recent episodes, but part of their thinking is they know full well there will always be an enclave made up of Mr. Savage. Yeah, like Huxley described it in Brave New World, there's always some people that, for whatever their reason, they don't want to, or they're excluded from that perfect utopian society as he described it. You know, they know that that's something that will naturally happen, and they make use of it. They know they can never truly eradicate all of us that disagree with them. You know, plus they don't want to. It's in their benefit to have us there as that kind of control group.
No, it doesn't matter. The target is the children.
I think that
as soon as they can jab the children at will, whenever they see the need to do that, then
I don't want to half-ass explain what I'm going to try and show in this thing that I'm working on, but I do think that beyond the shots and everything, that really it's what we're ingesting, like Jeff and I talked about all the time. You know, you have to now. We should have before, but we have to now really move away from what we're getting for our food, like where you have to know where it's coming from, and even that's not safe. But you have to remove as many middlemen as possible, because it's in this time, like the spores, or how they're putting those engineered spores on the lettuce, and sure, it's only lettuce, how they're putting that on there, and the spores are nothing to mess around with.
And just as a note, in case people don't know, if they didn't see your coverage of that, they're like tracking devices, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're like a corporate brand tracking device for logistics purposes. They can track where these items go by finding these spores that were attached to them.
Track, and it's what were the specific spores designed to do, because in some cases they use the same, and they mention it in that video that I shared, and I really appreciate it. Ice Age Farmer had shared the video clips too, that that they're using a probiotic spore, or a spore that's being used as probiotics. And the one thing I showed in a video quite a ways back was how the one company, their spores are tailored to create up to 25 antibiotics inside of you, so it's all about what it's designed to do. And they love these things, these little, there's so many patented versions. I'm working on it.
I think what we've got to watch out for with that is that we see with Bill Gates releasing these mosquitoes. If they start releasing those spores into the wild,
they have.
They already have.
They already have. Yeah.
But to a much larger extent, because I'm trying to find ways at the moment, slowly teaching myself how to eat from the woods, from the hedgerows, all the different wild foraging plants. And I mean, if they're going to be releasing these spores in the wild, and I think the Bill Gates and the mosquitoes, that's how they start. Well, we've got a genetically modified thing, but it's going to help get rid of the mosquitoes. That's a good thing. But messing with people's food, they really don't need to do that. And it doesn't take a lot of intelligence or education to realise you don't need to mess with the food. Yeah, and
I have no way to say how far back they've been able to mess with these things to do their bidding. I don't know. I only know what I read and see, but that I know I have this book. It's a government-ish book. It's in my Arctic sea ice video. I show a picture of it, but it's the history of cloud seeding, and it was about Project Cirrus, which was General Electric and the government doing how to seed clouds. And one of the things that they practiced and tried on, and this is what the 40s and the 50s, but they used spores at one point to try to seed clouds with spores. So who knows where it all is and what it's designed to do. And I don't know, I see trees dying all around. It's like, what have they done? What have they spread? And it is really, it's insane.
Yeah, thanks to Taz posting this in the chat room. If you haven't seen that, check out that guy Scott Webb's video. It should be in my list of my liked videos at some point from a few days ago. He covered the Chattermouse, what would you call it, like their little project presentation, the futurescape of what it would be like living in London over the next 100 years. And in that, they cover to a tiny degree. Yeah, they're not telling the public this kind of information like you're talking about. Yeah, they just make mention about things like the use of biotech for farming purposes, micro farms, things like that. Or altering your food, etc., to make it better for you. To include the pharmaceutical. Yeah.
Sorry.
So check that out, folks, if you haven't seen it.
Do you remember that famous meme of a house in Los Angeles, and the garden wasn't that big, and the meme underneath it, I assume it was true, it said like they take about 4 tons of food out of that one garden each year. Yeah, did you ever see that? So I mean,
I haven't seen that particular one, but I have seen evidence of other people showing that through the use of permaculture, from a half-acre site, you can easily produce that kind of amount of food, right? Yeah, you'll get multiple tons per year, no problem.
Yeah, the plants like growing together.
Yeah,
you can produce about 30,000 pounds of potatoes on 1 acre, what I believe it is.
Yeah,
something like that. But I did a video recently covering this thing called Policy Horizons. It's a government organization in Canada, and it's talking all about the convergence of people with machines. Basically, it's just out in the open. It's the biodigital world that they're building. It's crazy. So
they're not shy about that, huh? They're not shy about it. No.
Well,
and and the woman that runs it, she was formerly the World Economic Forum, of course.
Yeah. They're not shy about it, but it seems whenever we want to talk about it, whenever you make a video about it, the algorithm squishes it. Yeah, because I was just thinking, I haven't had any notifications from you, mate, for ages. So YouTube's not showing me the notifications for your channel or something. You know what it's like, but Yeah.
Well, for
They're not
Anonymous, you got to
exactly.
be subscribed to
From,
both channels.
I think I am.
He's
As
been
far as I
going back
remember,
and forth. Definitely. I won't keep this up on the screen, but I just want to say a couple of
I just
things.
got clear.
You're clear of strikes.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, I was just
Yeah,
going to say a
clear,
couple other things
Yeah.
on this thing. But yeah, you did just
Yeah.
get clear. Now you can post. I was just going to say, there were a few other things I had written down here, how they were talking about how this is the businesses. They're looking to shift from just like money. You know, that's not the only thing that'll determine your worth, sort of thing. And that how biological wastes will be a valuable resource. You know, that whole the waste streams in your food nightmare thing. That's not just your food, in your everything. And they talk about that, how they want to disseminate digital and genomic technologies through the sanitation system for improving personal and public health surveillance and infectious disease modeling, which we already know with that one company, the BioBot or whatever, that came out of MIT, I'm pretty sure. But that, and then with the 50-liter home, you know, that goes right with it. And how they're moving people to look at, by shifting their mindsets and their norms, to make that whole food waste thing, like you were talking about, Anonymous, unacceptable. You know, you will put it in that bin. You won't keep it to use on your own. You'd be inefficient. You wouldn't be able to do it. And how they're going to move all of everything to the sustainable protein sources. But they do need the animals. I don't know that the animals will completely go away. They're just shifting, like what they're feeding them and then what they're doing. Oh, it's so crazy to see the stuff of what they're using the animals for. But I'll stop on this thing. I'm gonna take the screen share down. There are other things I was going to show too. But
that shows the way the agendas are being put into direct projects now that are being pushed out and enabled and implemented by all those different major corporations, international corporations. You know, it's no longer just ideas in an agenda written down by the UN, you know, it's sort of like a wish project. Now those things are actually being directly implemented.
I just saw a recent article when I was doing some research on Bill Gates, because I'm doing a story on my blog site. This Ginkgo BioWare company just
Ginkgo
got some funding
Bioworks?
from Bill Gates, and they BioWorks, and they specialize in bioprinters that print microbes, and so they their whole thing is, instead of buying products, you could just print them yourself, grow them yourself.
yeah, and they're one of those nice foundries
that,
where you can reach out to them and they'll make your thing for you, so you can
What does it work from?
Policy Horizons.
What's the base resource that they use in the printer? What's the resource that they put into the printer to print stuff out?
different things that I've heard for
didn't look into their company yet.
Craig Venter has been working on this whole digital to biological converter thing. You know, you type in the code and it's just the same thing with the mRNA printer. And I've seen described as like just different bottles of chemicals there. But I imagine that they could even harvest from the air, because some of these things that depending on what they're producing, they can, or maybe they could feed in the medical waste. You know?
This is partly what I was wondering. You know, there's got to be a base resource that they're working from. So what is it that they're already, like, what have they designed the technology to make use of at the moment, but what potential does it have to use something else, like biomatter from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, that's part of what I'm going to go over in my video. But yeah, they can use all kinds of feedstocks, all sorts of things, depending on what they are using, like different little life likes different food and whatnot. But yeah it's mad science. It's crazy. But yeah, the Ginkgo Bioworks people, I'm pretty sure that one video that I did, is this the future of our species? The one, her name, I think it's like a Greek name, but the one lady, she works with George Church, and she just loves George Church, and she's from Ginkgo, I'm pretty sure, and she laughs at Jurassic Park, like it wasn't an instruction manual, but we're kind of doing that anyway. That's their logo. They use the Jurassic Park logo for.
As a side note of interest, a couple actually. One recently here in the UK, a couple of weeks ago, I think, we had a talking head who happens to be one of the main talking heads as a representative of Extinction Rebellion. But he was doing the rounds here on the UK media talking about how people should not get another pet when their current pet dies. So, basically people should stop having cats and dogs and whatever, because of the carbon footprint connection.
And that goes right with what Venomnymous has been showing lately on his pet coverage. I saw locally here, it's kitten season. That's what they said on the news here. It's kitten season. I never heard that.
There's no yearly kitten
there's usually a lot of
there.
strays.
Yeah. And they say that the shelters in my area, which I won't get in. There's a funny story attaching one of the shelters to the Las Vegas thing, but
let me just mention this other point, and that was in the recent few days, only a few days ago, maybe earlier this week, I think, there was a story doing the rounds about how they want to, I think it comes out of Spain initially, how they want to give animals the rights to not be abused. In other words, they want to sort of step up recognition of pet. The moment they're talking just about pets, dogs, cats, etc., to give them some kind of animal rights legislation so that they can't be abused by their owners. The way they presented it was like, it's that kind of, feel good thing of we care about the pets, so we want to make sure bad people don't mistreat them. But it had me thinking that this is a step towards stretching the meaning of human rights and all the other connected kind of legislation that goes along with that concept, to stretch the boundaries of what defines a human, what defines a sentient being that is allowed to have rights legislated for them. I'm thinking in terms of they're pushing towards that genetically created chimera effect, which means in the not too distant future, there's going to be beings that don't truly fit the human classification.
And some people already might identify as a puppy.
Chimera already here.
Can you screen share for a minute quickly,
Yes.
I wonder if Camille's come across this. I mentioned this guy maybe 2 years ago. There was a guy, I think he was the first one that ever did this hack your gut thing, And I've noticed now, I just looked it up, hacking your gut. It's become a big business.
It's huge. Yeah.
$277.
Read down on this, man. You've got things bringing your gut health to the ultimate gut health bundle. Right. The purpose of this program is to build a solid foundation for your gut to thrive by teaching you how behavior shapes gut health and function. And without a strong foundation, the gut cannot thrive and becomes susceptible to dysbiosis, damage and motility problems. Consequently, you'll experience the common symptoms of pain, bloating, diarrhea, constipation and more. Your gut is like the roots of a flower with solid roots. And basically what this guy was doing, first of all, he had some kind of milk intolerance. So he was actually feeding himself certain types of bacteria that normally live in the gut. And he thought he was being really clever by picking his own, doing a little pick and mix of the different bacteria that he's going to have in his stomach. I mean, this is craziness, telling people that they can, the ordinary person has the kind of scientific background needed for something like this. It's madness.
There's so much with this gut health stuff, and they definitely, I think they're going to take people that have felt sick and felt like been overweight and tired and all this stuff, and they're going to put their newly engineered life in there, and they're going to feel great, and they'll just be totally different, but totally part of the Borg, right? Because it's this new life, and some of this life is hostile and takes over your other life and makes like biofilms and stuff inside of you, and it's crazy. It's
lovely.
Lovely. Yeah, for sure.
hijacking the function
So
of your
focused on guts
biology.
is because the gut connection with the brain. Yeah. The gut
through the
brain
vagus
connection is
nerve.
why
Yeah.
they want the gut so bad. It's how they'll mind control you.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be like able to be happy when they want you happy, sad when they want you sad. But
Sorry, Gary, I just jumped
Just
screen
crank the dial.
share to this one that Pete had shared with they're already making or closer to human animal chimeras. You know, we've covered this kind of subject matter a few times over the years. You know, it's more than likely that in some parts of the world they are already doing this. You know, it's been steadily dripped into the public consciousness to prepare people for the fact that they are going to be doing this stuff.
Yeah, and it's looking
It's
more
so
and
funny
more
you guys
like
bring this up because I was literally talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I was literally talking about this yesterday.
There's a lot of mainstream push on this as well. So,
and of course they'll start off with something that's really helpful, like a very rare blood type, protein, which there's not enough donors for it, so they'll get a pig's blood to start, and then they'll be able to separate it, and that would be a good thing. And most of us might sit back and think, well, if the world wasn't such a bad place, that would be a good thing to do with the science. But that would just be the first step. After that,
well, once they get everyone as chimeras or whatever, then they're not registered as humans, so that they don't have the human rights. So I guess that ties into the animal rights like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's what it made me wonder. It just seemed too much of a theme. Going from initially here in the UK, it started with the cats can now get the COVID, so they were encouraging people to get their cats tested and to not interact with them too much and stuff like that. Then it became don't have any more pets because of carbon, and now we're getting this slow drip of pets should have the same rights as you.
Yep, they gave some gorillas the vaccine, a different vaccine, not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I think one of them died, if I remember the story correctly.
It was just a coincidence.
They're injecting them too. Of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
Didn't they use was it lemurs in the initial clinical lab trial, and they all died? This is going back months ago. Ferrets, was it? Sorry,
mink, right?
I thought it was
mink or ferrets.
I thought it was a primate.
They also, the mRNA talk I showed, that they also use those rhesus macaques. Is that sort of the same? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, that might have been what I was remembering.
I don't know for the COVID thing, but for mRNA shots in general.
Yeah.
Well, they might not be necessary. Has anyone seen the magnet thing? Yeah.
I think that's bogus.
I think that's like to normalize the transhumanism, so many of you already are starting.
Well, I looked it up because I thought, well, how that could happen? And then some guy has looked into it. Firstly, it's not a chip, because a chip would be silicon and copper at the most. It's not going to have any iron in it.
Yeah,
so this guy, that was my comment to this guy. So he went in, and lo and behold, he just discovered something, a new vaccine that contains ferritin, which is the protein inside hemoglobin, I believe, and it's one little protein that contains like 3 atoms of iron. So if you did get a big boost of ferritin, it might make a magnet stick. Now, the odd thing with ferritin is they are actually developing vaccines now, and most of the earliest story goes back to January this year, and a lot of them go back to March, and they're actually building this ferritin. If you look it up, the ferritin protein, you'll see it's a ball-shaped protein, and they're putting the spikes of the protein inside the ferritin, so no mRNA. This is just what a vaccine, I suppose, should have been right from the start. The little protein that makes it individual, so that your body can recognize it alone, without the virus, without the mRNA, etc. So it could be a way to get people, get the word ferritin into people's minds, as a better vaccine.
The Salk Institute just came out saying that the spike protein alone can also cause illness and stuff like that. So everyone's getting these mini factories for spike proteins built in their bodies.
Yeah. This is something Dr. Dr. Yeadon said. I've been ranting about it a bit in recent episodes. He said he made that point ages ago. And in the interview I saw with him from a few weeks ago, he was reiterating that point. It's like the COVID virus itself doesn't matter anymore. It's the spike protein.
Well, he basically confirmed everything I was thinking about before with the whole jab spreading like a disease.
Mm-hmm.
And they a bunch of people finally found a bunch of articles that were out last year. And I even found one from 2017 where they were talking about new vaccines that would spread like a virus.
With all these walking bioreactors,
Yeah.
All these,
And there's even like predictive programming, of course, for that with this Gargoyles episode that everyone has. I think everyone's seen that one where they talk about creating a pathogen that spreads like a virus.
Was that
was from the 90s?
One?
Yeah, and it's from the 90s or whatever. I think 96.
Oh,
you just showed that recently, right?
So,
I think I must have seen that clip.
It's in like several of my videos.
That might have been one of the last videos YouTube gave me notifications for, because I can remember watching that clip that you put up. Yeah.
Okay, I've got to get going. Yeah, I'll catch the rest of the show tomorrow.
Okay, mate. Thanks for joining in. Glad you were able to stay for a bit.
Bye, Gary.
Bye.
Later.
Yeah. In case folks missed it earlier, he said yes, the curfew is over there, but the shop, the internet cafe that he uses, doesn't stay open late still. I think they're probably waiting for the business to build up again now. Everybody's getting used to there being no curfew anymore. He's got to wait for the customers to start coming back before he'll open up longer.
And do they have staffing issues over there? Like here, I drove past a Taco Bell has signs up for $1,000 hiring bonus if you just come to work, because nobody wants to work here.
Maybe people are worried about Demolition Man.
Well, no, they're loving the perks of getting paid by the government to stay home, so they don't want to go to work. They created this problem, so now it's gonna, businesses are gonna beg people to come to work.
They've been able to survive without their non-essential job, so why bother going back to a non-essential job?
Yeah. They'll just take it away again.
Yeah.
Guaranteed income, basic income is coming, so no one will have to work.
I think in a lot of places now, it's already in place. It's just under different names slightly at the moment.
Exactly. We have Serve
over here. It's called Universal Credit here. So, it's not quite exactly the same phrase, but it
sounds worse.
Yeah.
Credits. Anytime I hear the word credits, I cringe.
Yeah. We'll see how that develops.
So one step away from social credits. So.
Yep. That's the thing. They've already talked about connecting the accounts, basically. They have put out the idea of no jab, no payments, but it didn't last very long in Parliament. I think they were putting it out as a trial balloon, basically, to see if they'd get away with it, and the public just did not like the idea. Luckily, gladly.
They had to seed them, get it out there, and it'll come back around. Yeah, they'll like it next time.
Yeah, gradualism.
Yeah.
As long as they've got a method of some manner of putting pressure on people, and they just keep introducing things a little bit at a time, that's the method they rely on. Gradualism combined with a strategy of tension, of applying pressure on you, of there being some need for you to do this thing. They're creating that need by changing the infrastructure of society such that you're in a situation where that's how you're expected to live now. You can't get service unless you have the mobile device to be able to pay electronically, stuff like that.
Yeah, they just have to get the ideas into people's minds enough, and then the big events happen, and then they bring it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Well, and when all
many
the
more big events coming.
when all of the big companies around the world say, well, we're doing this, and if you want to utilize our services, or if you want to live in our building, or if you want to eat our food, then you're going to go right along with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, time's up.
Yeah.
I was thinking as well when you mentioned about that subject matter, and this is one of those constant things that's around always in the background, because it applies no matter what the world situation is like. You know, it's always the end of the world for some religions and religious people. So it had me thinking that process of the kind of biblical prophecy effect, and how they have purposely in the media, in one way or another, you know, they've added that kind of biblical prophecy narrative into people's conversations, into people's consciousness, you know, because some of the stuff that's been happening fits in with biblical prophecy, like the mark of the beast. But the thing is like, which came first, yeah? Was the prophecy first, or was just the inevitability of them exploiting the fact that a prophecy exists, so they just fill the vacuum, and then they tell the public, like, see, it's the end of the world, you better do as you're told, better get your vaccine, get your chip, because look, it's big biblical prophecy, your time's up.
I keep forgetting I muted myself, so I don't want to make noise. Sorry.
I thought I'd just ruined the conversation then.
Yeah, way to go, Cookie. Way to go. No.
I'll just get my coat. Time's up.
Can I, on the time thing, can we talk about that book I've been so pushy with everybody?
Yes. I have to admit, I'm terribly sorry, miss. I was not able to achieve my homework.
You're such a slacker.
I've only read about, I think I'm on page 32.
Yeah, see, it doesn't really, you're probably still going, why in the world does she want us to read this book?
One more page, Cookie. You could have been 33.
Yeah, wow.
One more page. You couldn't even
really did that wrong.
Couldn't even take it for the team.
Yeah, I got through that first chapter, and that was just dire.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like this tale of woe.
Yeah, it's really, it's hard. It's hard to get into what the book is about, beyond the whole sad story of the lady's life, for sure. Yeah. But I just, there. So it's a Jewish feminism book, and it's Woman on the Edge of Time. When does this published? It's 76. Yeah, 76 it says here. And she wrote other books that were interesting. This He, She, and It. It's like building a golem, and people plug into the internet and they get attacked and killed. But
okay, I gotta read that one.
yeah, that one's weird. Well, so's this one. This I heard it was mentioned in some I think an Ed Regis book. I'm not even sure, but so some science book that was talking about that this was the good Brave New World. And I've mentioned it several times, and I was gonna mention it again on that book video when I finally get it recorded. But yeah, it's like not to give too much away, but it's it's a time in the past. Well, it was the current time, the lady that's suffering and going through the whole mental health issues and everything. Well, they say she has mental health issues, but she can communicate with the future, and it's her time is the deciding time of when it either goes this way or that way. With and again, not to give too much away, but it does come down to they're messing with their brains, and they want to put implants in their brains to control them. Like and they reference that the guy with the bull, was it Delgado or what's his name? The guy that can drop a bull, make it run at him, and
yeah.
I
don't remember. I'm bad with names, but yeah,
something with a D. But they're saying in here that like her time, obviously they were just learning about, they were studying the brain control devices on these mental patients, but they're saying that the real, not the bad people, but the good people were saying that this time of when they were learning to control genetics and the technology of brain control and birth to death surveillance and all that, that was when, Delgado, that was when the decision was made which path we were going on. But I wish people would read this book. It's terribly interesting, and I will
keep reading it. It's just as I say, I didn't get very far into it so far.
Yeah, it was
I can
interesting.
testify that it's interesting. It's also very cringy. It's hard to you just want to cringe because it's so what is happening now. Like what is being born right now is definitely in that book. It's very but it's definitely worth the read. I'm glad Camille's been harping on me to read this for like a year.
For a while.
I'm glad I finally did it.
And I recommend getting the physical copy. I've got all these flags and folded pages and everything to be able to go back and look at it. But sorry, what were you saying?
Have you seen The Minds of Men?
No. Part of it. That was
Aaron and Melissa Dykes. Yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah.
It's very long, right?
Yeah, it's about 4 hours long, but it's well worth it if you make your way through it. There's so much information in there. It's brilliant. It was just, again, making me curious because, as you say, Delgado, I think that was the 40s or 50s. I think maybe 50s, was it? But it was not, maybe not exactly the same kind of timing, but around the same kind of timing as this book comes out. So it's just sort of helping me sort of perceive that correlation of narrative. Like you're saying, in this book, it's kind of describing how we are at that changeover point. And a lot of what they cover in their documentary demonstrates that as well. You know, this is technology that they've been steadily working on for the past 4 or 5 decades at least. And now they've got to the stage where they feel it's ready for implementation. So a lot of this does as well. To me, this is my perception. I think adds into stuff like the hypernormalization, where the media around us, which is now 24/7 and ubiquitous, people are walking around with it in the palm of their hand, is constantly pumping out these narratives that are deliberately designed to keep you in a state of mental flux, almost like schizophrenia, where you're not 100% sure on what the current reality is. So you can't make any potential decisions or plans that could formulate into a threat against the state's control. They deliberately make your world seem chaotic and confusing so that you feel like you're in a world of madness and there's no way you can find your way through it.
Well, yeah, and so many people need the mental health help now because they broke people. But and then they also there's the environmental side of things too. They said in that Vision 2050, the time to transform thing, that they're going to make the consumers more and more aware of the environmental and the social impact of their using their technologies. And I imagine that having a chip or whatever kind of brain interface they do would be a little less wasteful than the having a new phone every couple years and having to have a computer and glasses.
How about every, say, 30 minutes you spend on Facebook, it plays the wail of a dying polar bear?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it shows you a little graphic of another polar bear being made extinct.
Oh. Well, so another thing. Oh, wait, were you going to say something, Anonymous? And another thing with this book. No.
You go ahead.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to jump to something that I was looking at because they're talking about these brain implants, and that, and then the Singularity University people with Singularity Hub, this was just in last month that they're talking about how they've got their first wireless high bandwidth. That way they can work with you when you're at home and not just in the clinical setting,
Oh yeah, I saw this.
Yeah. And I had been looking at a video that then led me to this thing. They were showing in the video this neurotech industry from 2020, but it was
that graphic was a bit appropriate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The image of a human head with a big sort of electric thing in the top of it.
Yeah, sorry, I'll go back. That, yeah.
So this is the button to your brain.
Yes. And so it's not, they don't just show the, it's just a few pages here. Oh, sorry. My computer's terrible. Something I'm using. There it is. But all these different companies and investors and technology hubs that are working in the space. And they have just this little chunk here that all these companies that are working on the brain to computer interface, but then all the little supporting actors, that it's not just Elon Musk, and his Neuralink. There's other companies and others working on all of it. Yeah, there's a little bigger. But yeah.
It's like they actually want you to know that they're taking part, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're all on the bandwagon and say, "Look at us, we're good people. We're doing it as well.
We want to help your brain."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I know there are 5 projects like this with similar amounts of backing and probably a lot of the same players, but there are like 5 big programs. Like one in China, one in India, one US, Europe.
Yeah.
Israel.
Israel's big.
For sure.
Obama had that brain initiative. I know that my friend Jules talked about it a lot. Again, I wish I could. Someone asked me if there was any backup of all of her stuff. I do not believe there is. I'm going to check an old computer I have, though, to see if the shows that we did together are on there. I'm not sure. But the 21st Century Cures Act and the Brain Initiative, Obama's Brain Initiative, the brain research through advancing innovative neurotechnologies. And now it's the 21st Century Cures Act is the 2.0. It's coming out big and strong again for the COVID era. And back when it came out initially, all the lawmakers made loads of money being in the right investments and things. But the neurotechnologies, I know the very last section of Anil Schwab's Fourth Industrial Revolution, the last section is on neurotechnologies and once they get these things implanted, how that's the ticket. And there are some negative impacts, how blurring the line between man and machine and fear of no privacy, but who really is concerned about those things?
What was the date on the release of that?
This thing here?
Yeah, that document. I'm thinking in relation to, was there maybe a couple of weeks ago? No, it was more than that, wasn't it? Probably nearly 2 months ago. The DARPA announcement that they had an injectable that could test whether you had COVID or not. And it was a readable device. So, you didn't have to plug it in or anything like that. It could be read from a distance, similar to that kind of stuff they were talking about. That's what's making me wonder, did this come out around the same time that they put that out? No, it's got to be before, because that says Overview 2020.
Yeah.
So this probably came out last year. And I think it was a couple of months ago, I think, when DARPA put that out in the news.
I don't know, but that sounds lovely. An injectable to be monitored for COVID.
I'm pretty sure they did actually
filter it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what got me.
Once it's hooked up to a dialysis machine.
Yeah. The way they were describing it, it wasn't just like a monitor chip. It was actually a functional device that could do things like filter your blood.
They love us.
I
how
posted a
have you
link to
got
that. Sorry?
Have you got the... Oh, hang on. I haven't checked the private chat. Sorry.
Yeah, I posted a link to the Policy Horizons, and I think you guys should read the there's a little section called "Good Morning Biodigital." It's a little, fictional story. It's quite.
It was a nightmare.
You got to read it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
That
nightmare.
was crazy.
Waiting on my browser to catch up. It's loading. Your brain is loading.
Please hold.
Please drool while we connect you. Okay, hang on. Let me
You are a
screen
thought criminal. Your brain will now be deleted.
share. Come on. Right. Exploring biodigital convergence. Which one? Which one? Anonymous.
The Good Morning Biodigital.
Good Morning Biodigital.
And there were other really good things in there. I will put all the links together again that everybody's sharing here that I've seen. And but yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. You missed it. There was a great young Ray Kurzweil picture. I love how they show him so long ago before because he doesn't look like that anymore.
Let me read this bit out then. Many factors could affect how biodigital convergence technologies could impact different societies, countries, cultures, environments, and people around the globe. The following is one of many possible narratives depicting some of the innovations in a future biodigital world.
We need some background music with that.
Yeah, I just saw that first bit of the sentence and I thought this is all going to be poetic license stuff, isn't it? They take like one little snippet of the actual information, they craft a whole paragraph of poetic, romanticized crap around it. I don't live anywhere near the Mediterranean, but my AI, which is also my health advisor, has prescribed a specific air quality, scent, and solar intensity. See, that's the tech, but they're wrapping it up in romanticism by talking about, the sunlight and the salty coastal air of the Adriatic Sea. I don't live anywhere near the Mediterranean, but you can pretend you're in the Mediterranean by getting the tech to mimic that climate. The fresh bed sheets grown in my building. Grown. Yeah, the bed sheets are grown from fungus. Okay. Better than I imagined. Although I have slept under a tree on what I suppose you could call a bed of fungus. Or it was more, what do they call it? Lichen and bracken. Anyway. Yeah, I need to check a few things before I get up. I send a brain message to open the app that controls my insulin levels. Wow, you mean the app actually lets him choose what to do with it? Well, maybe that's a bit of a benefit, a bit of ice cream in your transhumanist
Very magnanimous.
Yeah. Make sure my pancreas is optimally supported. Well, yeah, shouldn't it be doing that without you needing to tell it what to do if it's so great and fantastic? And why have you still got a pancreatic problem if you've got all this super tech that can do this stuff for you? Sorry, I'm digressing into...
Maybe it's a bioprinted pancreas and it doesn't work so well.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to inject myself with needles. Oh yeah, needles are so last century. Everything looks right, so I check my brain's digital interface to read the dream data that was recorded and uploaded to the cloud, and all subsidiary companies connected to the corporation that produced the interface and processed in real time. Yeah. My therapy app analyzes the emotional responses I expressed while I slept. Man, just that one sentence is terrifying in and of itself.
Everything is.
Yeah.
And funny. But
it suggests I take time in nature. Duh. You in the future, you will own nothing, and you will be so dumb you'll need a piece of technology in your brain to tell you to go outside.
Well, you even have to go outside, though, because they're going to make everything biology and everything will be natural, nature-based.
And why would you be going outside to be in nature when the AI can create the effect of being outside anyway?
Yeah, they're right. I want to be smelling a forest right now, you know? Yeah.
It suggests to take time in nature, reflect on my recurring trapped in a box dream. I wonder why you get in that dream.
Because you're probably in a concrete box.
Yeah, that's a bit of
no
subtle NLP, I would argue, by the authors there, that they know most people may have the kind of trepidation about some of this stuff, that it is kind of like a digital entrapment, because it is. So they deliberately play to that fear.
It's permanent lockdown.
This is a technique where an author placates their argument to the reader. In other words, you make it seem like, oh, don't worry, mate. I know what your fears are. I care about you because I'm aware of your fears, and I care about what happens to you because of them. Do you see what I mean? Do you see how that works psychologically? Yeah? They make themselves seem more on your side by acknowledging your fears of what they're trying to suggest to you. This whole thing is just nasty.
It gets worse.
And
they're fully aware that this new system is going to like just dramatically increase mental illness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and in the book, in the Women on the Edge of Time, they said the big cities didn't work. You know, this good future is a land where they went to small tribal groups and things like that, because the big cities where they trap people in boxes or sewer tubes wasn't good for them.
Yeah, so trapped in a box dream, and enhance helpful subconscious neural activity. In other words, they'll fix your brain while you're busy doing other shit. So you won't even have to do anything yourself. It will just be working away in the background in the base of your brain. AI recommends a forest day. I think okay, and my AI and neural implant do the rest. So has he actually even moved a muscle out of his bed? I'm saying it's a he. I don't know. It might be some trans whatever. But is he even awake? Does he know if he's even awake? How does he know that what he's experiencing is now real or not just another concoction of the AI? Yeah? If he's not even physically got out of bed to check whether he is still, pinch himself, am I still actually here, or is this just more creation of the AI?
By going for the what they produce for him and not leaving his home, he probably gets more credits, not using energy to go to the forest. And stuff.
Yeah. The summary of my bug bot surveillance footage, in other words, your monitoring device, shows that my apartment was safe from intruders, including other bug bots last night.
Bug bots.
So the fact that you woke up in your bed and the place wasn't turned over and you hadn't been assaulted while you were asleep, that's not good enough for you to know that you haven't been burgled. You need a constant surveillance bug bot to tell you that you weren't burgled.
It's like, why is it so dangerous that you need bug bots?
Yeah, why is there still crime? What the hell?
Well, they're protecting against viruses, no doubt.
And
for that kind of
why isn't that neural implant telling me not to do a crime?
Yeah.
But it does notify me that my herd of little cyber dragonflies are hungry, because I'm too dumb to know. And so surely it would just have an automated system to feed it. If they're cyber dragonflies that are linked into an AI system, why does the guy even need to actually feed them by hand? It would be automated. The AI would say, oh, they need extra resources, extra sustenance now. So we excrete another pellet of whatever, Soylent Green.
To keep you connected to nature.
Humanizing it.
Yeah.
Pets looking after pets.
Yeah.
Half of it is illogical, because if you have that implant, you can, avoid a lot of these problems that you are supposed to have.
Well, if there's bad people, no doubt they're that control group. They're those people that didn't want to participate.
Yeah, but they live outside the wall.
They sneak in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's been collecting.
Those damn anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. It's been working hard collecting data and monitoring outside environment all night to make sure none of the anti-vaxxers are lurking.
That's right.
But the number of mosquitoes that are the vaccination vector and Lyme-carrying ticks, man, this is most definitely aimed at an American demographic, because it's only in the USA where this obsession with Lyme-carrying ticks in the outdoors has been pushed onto the public. They normally hunt to replenish their energy, was smaller than expected.
Well, it's Canadian, right? So it's same. That's Canucks.
Yeah. And they've got plenty of outdoors to be exploring. They don't need an AI to artificially create it for them. Should I carry on with this, or is it just going to get sillier?
I would be worried about bears if I lived in Canada instead of fucking ticks.
It gets crazier.
So doesn't warn me about that.
Well, let me just jump ahead a bit, then we'll go through the last few paragraphs, because otherwise I know what I'm like. I'll end up taking hours to read just a short bit, because I'll keep stopping to pull it apart and laugh at it. My fridge schedules the production of more miso and some kimchi in preparation.
People can check it out for us.
It also adds immune boosting ingredients. Vaccines, immune boosting. So that negates the definition of the word immune. If you are immune, you do not need a booster. Having to have a booster contradicts the definition of the word immune.
They already given a new term to vaccinated. They call them maxinated. Seriously. That's,
You've been maxed.
I'm maxinated, yeah.
Oh, man. Add immune boosting ingredients to my grocery order because we're approaching flu season. See, even in the distant future, they haven't dealt with the flu. Yeah.
What?
They got all these AI microbots, but they still got the flu. Sorry, so I'm doing it again. And a strain that I'm likely to be susceptible has been detected only a few blocks away. Localized variants. I made this point last year. The national lockdowns may be taken down. They will say, "Oh yeah, it's done now. We've achieved the goal." But now they've got the principle embedded into the public's consciousness. They will be able to use it to do exactly that. Oh, down the road from you, there's been an outbreak of this triple mutant variant. So that bit of your town is now out of bounds. None of you can go in or out of that area.
Well, it's okay because you won't need to leave the 15 minutes, right? That's as far as you're supposed to go from your home, those little communities. Yeah.
I take my smart supplement, which just popped out of my bioprinter. Oh, man. Is his bioprinter attached to his toilet?
It's a circular.
Bill Gates has done the poo water, so it's not going to be. This is why I was asking earlier. Are these things designed to use any kind of biomass? Because potentially they could be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The supplement adjusts the additional nutrients and microbes I need and sends data about my body back to my bioprinter to adjust to my supplement. And like I alluded to earlier, don't forget that all that information will be going onto a cloud and to all the corporations interlinked to the production of that device, etc. The feedback loop between me and my bioprinter also, they put it in the sentence, sorry. Cloud stores daily data for future preventative health metrics. The real monitoring of my triglycerides is important given my genetic markers. Gattaca, anyone?
Yeah.
He knows what his genetic markers are and he's aware that he has to check them on a regular basis and they're checked and recorded and registered and etc. etc. As my coffee pours, I check my daughter's latest school project, which has been growing on the counter for the past week. She's growing a liver for a local puppy.
Well, really, what the hell?
This is comedy. This is comedy gold. She's growing a liver for a local puppy in need as part of her empathy initiative at school. Empathy initiative? What the absolute fuck? More stem cells are on the way to start a kidney too, because she wants to help more animals. Why not just grow a whole animal? Why are you fucking about with just parts?
Because that would be bad for the environment.
You just get that one that's missing a liver, stuff him in the back of the bioprinter, and just print out a whole new puppy.
Do you get a B for if the puppy dies?
No, you'll probably get a coupon for Soylent Green.
They don't want to scare the readers with a whole puppy, just a kidney.
We're going to fix the broken ones. We're not going to replace you completely. Oh, no, we'll just fix the broken ones. As if. I grabbed my coffee brewed with the new certified carbon negative.
Yeah, negative.
What?
Yeah.
Carbon negative bean variety. What is it? A black hole? It's not a baked bean, it's a black hole bean. Sit on the couch for a minute. Oh, he's actually got a couch. He's actually got out of bed.
Body.
Yeah. It appears the nutrient treatment I have painted on the surface of the couch and chairs has allowed them to rejuvenate. I'll have to try the treatment on my bioprinted running shoes, and it should say in brackets there, I'll also be dipping my willy into it later to see how rejuvenated I can get it. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh wow, is that the time? What you mean you still actually bother to tell the time where the AI interface in your brain could just tell you need to be somewhere and whatever? You wouldn't even need to know the concept of time. The AI would do all the timekeeping for you. Before my first virtual meeting, I tightened the belt on my skeletal-muscular strengths chair. It sounds like he needs it from all the time he spends in bed.
It sounds like the Wall-E chairs.
Yeah. I wonder if it's a commode chair. I bet it
have to be.
Although then again, he's probably got a collection unit attached to his bum that goes into the bioprinter.
Yeah.
First,
that's a good point.
First, I get the debrief from colleagues finishing their work day on the other side of the world. Right? Why is this supposed to be? He's some kind of international celebrity or something because he talks to people on the other side of the world. I shiver momentarily as I think about how intimately we're all connected in this digital biosphere. Again, destruction of the definition of words.
It never left the box either. It's all this time it's in the box.
Yeah. All inside his little cubicle.
Or
sewer. He doesn't even know where he is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was terrifying comedy. But I have to say, sorry folks, you might get a little bit of infinite video for a second. I just remember I'm still screen sharing. All right, but I put the link for that article in the side chat. If I'd read that in a fantasy novel or sci-fi novel like 20 years ago, which was it was mainly in the 90s when I was reading all that kind of stuff, I probably would have thought like, oh yeah, this is sci-fi future, the future world kind of thing, tomorrow's world, all that lot. But reading that now as a description of that's what they expect to be happening within the next few years is just like reading the insane gibberings of a madman.
And that was from the Canadian government. Oh, where'd he go?
Oh, he's lost
connection,
I think.
Yeah. Yes. He did a video where he read through it more, and it's like a crazy world.
Wow.
Yeah. When Arnold Schwab says frightening,
he means it.
I think that's what's going through his head. Yeah.
I don't think you could sell that as a movie pitch. something like this. And they would say, "Well, that's a bit too much for a movie. I don't know what." But that this is supposed to be reality. Great.
He's back.
I was thinking the viewer wouldn't, like, if it was a movie, the viewer wouldn't know half of what's going on because it's all taking place inside his head with that interface.
Oh, they'd figure it out. They'd be like, "Wow, what a rich world he has."
There's a scene in Cloud Atlas, a movie called Cloud Atlas, and it's a storyline that's split into sort of different timelines.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the story set in the past, part of it set in the future, etc. Yeah, but there's the one storyline they show where it's set in the corporate world, which is, I'm fairly confident that is the direction they're rapidly taking us in the next few decades. Yeah.
Yes.
But in that, there's a bit where the hero has rescued the girl, and they've gone back to his safe house, which is literally just a concrete box. But once they walk in, the devices activate to his personal settings and whatever, and all of a sudden all the walls become VR images. So it looks like, they could make it look like they're sat in a bamboo hut on a beach in the tropics somewhere, but they're actually just in a concrete box. And for all we know from that little story, that description, as you say, he never leaves his box. What is the box actually like? Is he living in just a concrete box? Yeah.
Yeah, it could be bare walls because if he's getting.
He went from his bed to a chair, so that's.
Or he made his bed sit up. Did he have a chair?
He didn't even brush his teeth or wash or anything like that.
Yeah.
He could have biobots do the teeth for him, I'm sure.
Probably
it's just a sewer tube.
Yeah.
Even the sensations of getting out of bed and walking over to a chair and drinking a cup of coffee, all those physical sensations could be emulations created by that brain interface.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he could be in that matrix pod, connected to a energy harvesting device for all he knows, because the AI is telling him most of what he knows about reality.
And it's funny that the corporate controlled nightmare world they're describing there, how everything's made circular and green and environmentally friendly. That's the nightmare world they describe in this book I keep going on about. They call it the multis, the corporate body that controls whole areas. But yeah, and that the better way to go is, like I said, the little tribal things, which I was watching the weirdest video the other day on, I think it's the Evolution 2.0 channel, but they were talking about this lady that studies the cooperative behavior in all kinds of things, even cancer cells. But one of the things she was saying was that, like, this, the outliers and everything, that they kind of, in a way, will lead to a cooperative sort of get along environment in the end. And it made me think of, like, that World Economic Forum and the games they play, that video where they are running that alternate plan too, of having not just the tech-based everything, but the leave it all and go and grow food and live in these little communities. And it's like, okay.
Cry Freedom Ghetto, as it's portrayed in that Plandopolis animation, or like the towns and villages where Mr. Savage lives in Brave New World. Yeah.
But by the time, that's like the end goal sort of thing.
Yeah.
That they want that little land where there's less people and still using the bio everything. Yeah. Waste not, want not.
I wonder if that is a principle of
only work kind of a bunch of the population first.
Say again, right?
Get rid of a bunch of the population first.
It's only going to work if they get rid of a lot of the population.
Or get them all
a lot of carbon.
Get in your sewer tube, and plug in and power the future for all those outliers.
I was thinking from the point of view of they describe it as being circular. But really, I would argue it's not circular. It's a downward spiral. It's an inward turning spiral. So I know this sounds a bit cheesy and cliche, but that old phrase of the beast will eat itself, it will consume itself. It does make me wonder about the possibility that the controllers, the cabal, given whatever label you want, the people that put out things into the world, such as the Georgia Guidestones that says 500 million living in balance with nature, which is that kind of imagery, like you're describing, like the outliers. They're almost like Eloi, in the H.G. Wells kind of description. But those people will survive. Meanwhile, the people who willingly submit themselves to this matrix-style pseudo-sustainability, this thing that's being called circular, it's not truly circular, it's an inward spiral, which means eventually it will destroy itself, it will consume itself. And maybe that's the principle they're relying on, that they're creating this thing that they know will destroy itself, but it's their method of genocide in a mass amount of the population. I know that sounds, really dramatic, but it's sort of like they're persuading people to willingly step into this machine that gives no care whatsoever to what they are as a being. It just treats them as a resource. That means eventually, it's going to come to consume that part of the resource material as well. At what point does the machine, the AI, like the interface in that guy's head, at what point do you need the body that's attached to that device? At some point, you just become the meat perambulation suit. You're the animatronic that carries the device around. If you don't need to think anymore to do all these things for yourselves, then what purpose are you?
Once what you're contributing to the building their digital world gets boring, are you really useful anymore?
Yeah.
I did forget 2 things. I'm sorry to keep going back to the dang book. 2 things I wanted to say. The good version, they do have a gizmo. They do have it's their memory, it's their contact device, everything, and it's made by the Ashkenazi. and if you lose it, some people get so sad that they kill themselves. And so it's like it's their crutch, their connection.
I wondered, is that her making an acknowledgement to her own cultural heritage? That you have to be sort of like recorded in the holy ledger so that God recognizes you as one of the true chosen people.
I don't know. Another thing they do too is they all
it's a very
identify
anti-white book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's a blending of all the peoples, not the melting pots, that didn't work, but they identify as the tribal, or the old groups, like the Indians and all the groups that were living there, the indigenous people, they identify as those groups no matter what genetic makeup they are. And I don't know if I'm the only one that notices it. I probably not, at the beginning of all of these talks and panel discussions, where they want to acknowledge the people that were in this space before them, and they talk about the tribes and things. But anyway, sorry.
No, I think that's a really good point to add in, because
my city is renaming all its districts to indigenous names.
Oh, nice.
But it is it's an acknowledgement of your genetic heritage as beings and as social beings. The way we interact with each other, our history is encoded in the stories, the culture that we carry with us. But in terms of the way this kind of technology structure works, what it cares about is your heritage that's encoded in your digits, the digits that represent your gene, your ethnic genetic heritage.
And all their children belong to one another. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
the children belong to the system, don't they? Not to their individual genetic donors.
Well, they come from vats, and they've got multiple. Yeah.
You can't call them mothers and fathers anymore. They
only have mothers.
Donors.
They only have mothers.
Oh,
Even the men are mothers.
That's why it's the classic feminist novel that it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and they all use the same pronoun. It's they go by and they use per. They're all person, per.
So they all purr like cats.
Yes, the cats talk too, and they communicate in a way. Read the book.
It's like I said, cringy.
Yeah. There's a lot in there.
You know,
the ending's good.
Basically, this is how women will get liberated because they will lose their ability to give birth naturally.
Yeah, they had to give it
how
up.
They're going to get their liberation, and I think it has a lot to do with the little jabs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll make that point again as well. Genetics. Your genetic heritage, your genetic makeup, because your genetic makeup represents your heritage. And it's why they've become more and more interested or even obsessed with finding out your genetic information, why they want your genetic information.
Yeah.
I think I've just said it before, describe it as the genetic doomsday book. They want a ledger of all the beings walking around and what their genetic makeup is.
And they've been gathering that, on all kinds of life. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. A little, I was just thinking as well, in a kind of metaphorical way, it's a little bit like the collection of seeds, like when they built the seed banks, the seed vaults.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take a stock of the current genetic makeup at this point in time, because they know in the coming future it will be difficult, if not impossible, to get a snapshot of pure, clean, original genetic data before this time, because it's going to get interfered with in some way.
And it allows them to track how the experiment goes.
Yes.
Yeah,
like tracer rounds following its progress.
Yeah.
Or the mosquitoes giving you a little Zika jab.
We see you went to Florida for vacation. Put that in your makeup.
You have been tagged.
Yeah.
We found spores from such and such corporation. What products have you been buying from them? Yeah.
Oh my word. For real.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Was there more points on the book you wanted to mention?
Oh, yeah, but I'd just go on and on and on. People should read it. It's interesting. I like the thing that you have on your Soul Excalibur, the read more than you watch. That's good. Yeah. It's good advice. But yeah, they do. They say they can trigger when these things they put in the people's heads, like their fight or flight and euphoria and calm and pleasure and pain and terror, whatever they want to trigger. Doesn't that sound great? People should, they have these, I have the link open, but the video is frozen and it won't show the part I want to show. They've got all of these, they're external still, but the brain control interface thing that has Alexa built in, but they can do so many things they say they're laying the groundwork to stream the biodata from sensor to sensor out of you, to be able to get ready for when it's in you too. But they're utilizing this AR tech, the augmented reality tech with the brain control interface and the artificial intelligence, and the devices are designed to be able to use all day long. That they're low power. They're putting it out there to help the Alzheimer's patients, of course. That's what it's for. But they recognize that they can branch out from there. That's just to get the foot in the door, and then there's all kinds of good things. And they already have the insurance stuff laid out. They say in their timeline in that video, I'm sorry I can't show it, but they say in the timeline that they look to be covered by like all the normal insurances by 2022 for that gizmo.
Yeah. You made me think when you said the phrase "foot in the door," I was thinking, isn't it more like a hand in the brain?
Yeah. For real.
They're getting their entry point set up, their foothold, their beachhead.
And I'll link again to that, but it's on the Transformative Technology Conference channel. It's their neural prosthetics for assistive technology. They love us so much. They want to do
We just want to assist you.
We're here to help.
Yeah, we're going to assist you straight into the chair.
Venomnymous, we cannot forget about Poppy. Are you there? He sent this. Oh,
Yeah. Poppy.
You got a
Poppy.
link?
Yeah. And if he sends you the link, or I maybe can find it if you don't have it right there, Venomnymous. But I watched it with the subtitle, or the closed caption or whatever, and without the sound. Oh, it's bad. But we could watch it. It was pretty accurate. We could look at it. That's just
the lyrics. The song is called "Time's Up."
Oh yeah, it is perfect for
the visual is pretty important too.
Yeah. Do you have the link?
I saw the one about the masks. I haven't seen one about Time's Up.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
I'll try and be careful with playing.
Maybe if we talk on top of it. And there's no and don't play the audio. It's terrible.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that should be all right.
Yeah. I'm looking.
We can make up our own words.
Oh no, the words you put there right on the screen. Here, I have it. I found it.
You want the words.
Yeah, you do. It's wacko. I found it. Did you have it, Anonymous? Or is it already on the screen? Because I'm not even looking at that screen anymore.
I don't have it. I can't really look up stuff with the way I'm functioning here.
Excuses.
I got a serious lag too.
It's in the side chat there, Cookie.
Got it.
I don't know if you want to show, but yeah, do the captions. Creepy. That character, man. Yeah, it's like very odd in the masks, and then how it in the know she was, or her handlers, or
yeah, exactly.
Especially with the pill thing, and how. Yeah, and how on that one channel that I showed in one of those Watch More YouTube videos, that Human Vaccines Project people and they discuss in one of those talks the oral vax that they're working on. Of course, that other company that I showed a while back, that nanovirusides, there to the new immune system for you, because you don't need the one that you were born with, but that one they do an oral, and the 2001. Sort of thing with the floor and everything. I did watch that movie finally.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see how well the closed captions do.
When I watched it, they did well. Like they matched up because I listened at the same time. I'm sorry to say.
They might have edited it as well to make it accurate, because you can go into it after it, or you can upload transcription.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. She's a strange thing.
She is what they meant her to be. She is just a mannequin.
And what year was this? Does it say?
2018.
All right.
August 22nd, which is 822. No, sorry, 722.
Yeah. We should talk. Yeah, you don't even know what's coming here. Yeah.
You got to read the lyrics.
I know.
I suppose I should read them out.
Yeah,
I can't see them on the screen. Yeah. I'll survive when the plants die and the atmosphere is just a big hole. Baby, your time is up. Ooh, 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 ooh. I want to be like you. Ooh, ooh. Yeah. Baby, your time is up. Yeah. Tick tock. Time's up. Biblical prophecy.
And look at them all becoming little digital things.
What color pill was it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's 3 pills so far. 2 women, 1 man.
The pill's blue.
Oh, right.
Oh.
There you go. exponentially. Every day I'm growing my memory. You wouldn't believe your life is meaningless. You're just like cockroaches. Extermination's your only hope. I feel that I have to do this in kind of like a monotone sound. Yeah. Human history, pollution and overcrowded cities. That's your legacy. But don't look so depressed. You'll soon be nothingness. Oh my God, you don't even know. I don't need air to breathe when you kill the bees. And every riverbed is as dry as a bone. Oh, will I still survive when the plants have died? And the atmosphere is just a big hole until my batteries run out and there's nobody left to change them. And then I will be just a mannequin in a cupboard that nobody loves anymore. Nobody's going to come and fix it because I can't do it myself, because I don't exist, because everything is outside, beyond your control. This is just nihilism. You know, some of the stuff we were talking about at the start of the show, you know, this is literally what this is.
Do you see the big Satan on her dress there? Look, it's a goat's head.
Yeah, yeah. Or a bull's head. That's like the Maitreya bull. There's the ears, there's the horns. That's the gem between the horns. It's Egyptian symbology as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 divisions in the inverted triangle. Yeah. The halo of rainbow light behind her head as well.
Your time is up.
Her handler, the guy who creates all these pieces, because she is literally just a mannequin. Yeah, she's not an artist. I'm using the word literally a little bit figuratively. So, but yeah, she's a mannequin. She's not an artist. She doesn't create these pieces. He does, her handler, and he is a self-avowed Satanist. You know, so this is just him using her as an instrument to put satanic ideas into the public consciousness.
Take your pill and become a digital being, and you won't be here much longer, you cockroaches.
And just that, I said the rainbow halo, the bull or satanic imagery, or you simplify it as just satanic symbology. Yeah, and the golden haired child, the virginal, even though it'd be highly dubious if she is a virgin, but you know what I mean, the way she's presented, the poppy character is virginal in its symbology. This again, it references that the corporate appropriation of the sacred feminine to turn it into a brand that can then be used to define a separated social demographic and make them feel individualized and victimized and oppressed, so that then they can be used as a weapon for social manipulation. Like Jeff used to say, you know, persuading women to give their lives to working in a glass tower.
Yeah, but women's rights are humans' rights.
Women are humans too. And I think somebody did mention it in the chat earlier as well. You know, men are humans too. Enough for staring at that witch wannabe. Yeah, I think it might have been Roberto. Hi, Roberto. Hope you're well. Yeah, he said men. Yeah, men are humans too, and it's that kind of social psychological manipulation that the system has been building up for decades now. And we are in somewhat of a crescendo of all these methods that they've been applying. And we end up with things like that, you know. That's to me, it's such a blunt tool, because I look at the stuff they put out under that, you know, that kind of brand label of poppy. And all I see is that kind of outright psychological manipulation, or attempt at psychological manipulation. But I know to a lot of people, especially, I know this sounds ageist, but to a lot of younger generation, they see that as being some kind of cultural fashion kind of thing. You know, it's trendy, it's edgy, it's whatever. It's music fashion, you know. But to me, it's like, no, that's psychological manipulation to make you nihilistic and make you feel that there's no point in existing as you are. Therefore, when they come along and offer you that pill to transform you, you'll think, well, fuck it, I'm not worth anything anyway, so I might as well turn myself into a machine. Plug me in, please.
And on the words, because the words and everything are so important, because they choose the definitions of these things they put out. But I want to say, I think it was in I showed last show that my friend Patrick Jordan, the one on that Friends at a Political Art, one of the documents that goes with one of the things is called Well Fed, and I believe in there he lists, because he goes back to the old, like the legal dictionaries and everything, and I want to say that human beings was like monsters, but we're all men, male and female. We're all men though, and so the women, I thought that was actually like a bad term, but anyway.
I personally would call it an unfortunate legacy of older times, but it's been so embedded into all our societies that it's foundational to our societies. But you are a monster in a definition of law, and certainly legal definitions. You are a creature. You are a monster up until two things. One, you have been baptized or brought into the religion at the time when a lot of this stuff was written down, which happened to be Catholicism. If you're brought into the flock, then you're considered a human, a member of mankind, yeah? Or you prove yourself to be self-sentient. So in a kind of legal, lawful definition, you have to prove that you're not a creature, that you're not a monster, that you are not reduced to your base animalistic drives, because you have the ability to reason, which is why you are able to comprehend and adhere to a system of law.
Yeah.
Right? Most of the laws that we operate by that are foundational to our societies require that you are capable of comprehending why it is in your interest to follow those laws. Yeah. So I know it's a bit of a kind of pedantic point, but in a legal and in some lawful situations, you are considered a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the word, just said in the chat room, I know the word with my accent, with my Brummie accent, when I say monsters, it sounds like I'm saying it with the U, like the TV show, and like it is in my name. That's why I was called, that's why I was given that nickname many years ago when I was in school, because I was Cookie Monster, like the character off the TV show, the monsters. But this is something that is an esoteric spiritual thing that is part of the deception, which could bring us again back to things such as the example of the character Poppy. If they can persuade people that you're nothing but a lump of animalistic flesh, they separate you from that divine spark, that divine essence. Therefore, you can be treated as a creature. You have been dehumanized. So you can be treated as second class, as property, as just a resource to be consumed. So the more they implant that concept into the public's consciousness, the more the public is ready and prepped for a transition into a non-physical existence. Yeah, because why would you need to keep the body that the universe gave you? No, you don't need it, because you're not connected to anything divine. There is nothing else beyond just your own sense of awareness that bounces around in your skull. Which, now with this technology we've been talking about, soon you won't need to have a physical body, because everything can be emulated or chemically pseudo created for you anyway.
And you can come and live forever in their digital world that you built.
Until such time the power runs out.
Yeah. Need
Or
more people to plug in.
Yeah, you fail to generate enough digits to pay the rent.
That's right. Boom. Shut down.
Sorry to make that sound a bit, well, gets a bit Nietzschean, you know.
The computer said no.
Seemingly pessimistic, you know. But I think the very fact that if you bother to spend the time working your way through to the sort of the more heavily obfuscated areas of their information, their propaganda. You know, most of the propaganda is 70, 80, 90% of the shit that gets thrown at us constantly is just propaganda manipulation. But if you're able to spend the time working your way through it, you'll see that in the background detail of their plans, their agendas, their ideologies, they know full well that they can never, ever truly get rid of all of those counter-narrative people. And I think up higher at the top echelons of the cabal of the manipulators, they know full well that by natural law, they cannot get rid of all of us. If they do, it will be to their own detriment.
Well, and if in the end, those are the ones that they want to be around, maybe the down the line ones, but the ones that didn't step right up and join the machine to join the three-legged lockstep, you know, and go right along with it.
Yeah.
That those other ones are the ones that'll collaborate and bring about the green world, and they'll want the gizmos that will make that world possible, made by the Ashkenazis, you know. It'll be,
it will be handed out to us like a new sacred scripture.
Yeah.
Earthism, as I've heard some people refer to it as, you know. I think Scott Webb points that out in some of the Chatham House stuff that they've been putting out recently, you know. It's got that kind of amalgamated earth religion kind of thing, you know, a sort of up-to-date version of New Age kind of concepts, which again connect to that book, because this is stuff that was all coming out in the late 60s, early 70s, correlating with also things such as, in a cultural media sense, you had things such as Soylent Green. The Day the Earth Stood Still hadn't been out that long, I think, several years. But there was a few sci-fi movies and books. This Island Earth, I think, was mid-late 70s, that followed that kind of green agenda theme, because Soylent Green was all about the green agenda. Yeah, it was like the first incarnation of the green agenda. And that, again, timeline connects to the initial formulation of what would become the basis of the green agendas under the auspices of the UN. So you had things like the first sort of coordinations of the Trilateral Commission, things like that. All of that was starting to take place during those 2 decades, the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
The beginnings of the UN, and them discussing about how they could formulate a threat that would persuade the people of the world to unite as one, and would lead towards a one world system with the UN as a governing body. Look into things like the Lucius Trust.
Once everything is this biology made, the bio-based world, you know, everything boils down to who wrote the code to make the stuff it's like, it's crazy when how the control is concentrated, and they want to make everything this way. You know, in the Agenda 21 stuff, it talks about how this is the only way. This is the green way. This is, and it's to all be with the computer at the top, and who made the computer.
We can't allow the already existing circular reality of the natural world, which follows its own natural laws, but when it comes down to it, it is a perfect perpetual motion machine where nothing is wasted. everything gets recycled at some point. Nothing ever gets destroyed. It is totally, completely, ultimately circular. But that's not good enough. We've got to technologically create our own pseudo-circular version of the natural world. It's insanity. But we know a lot of them are insane.
You know, they're doing the long game, so it doesn't matter how long it takes to get, and how much of this stuff they have to get to their less people and the environmentally friendly and whatnot. Because it's not like they're expecting it all to be done. Like they're saying 2050 in this thing, but the book is way further off even than that it took them to get to it. But of course, that's just fiction. It's them spelling their plans into reality, right?
Yep.
You know, and they want you to think, or they want to think ahead like this, so they create that.
I can't remember which culture the phrase comes from, but it is an old phrase that goes along the lines of "He who writes the story owns the future."
There you go.
Is everyone quiet? I can't hear anything.
You can't hear us.
Yeah, we're still chatting, mate. Maybe it's your connection. Maybe lagging a little bit. It has been lagging here and there.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get a big chunk of audio all at once, the way it does.
There it is.
The packet loss effect. All of a sudden, we'll all start talking really fast.
That's how I normally sound when you get me going. I'm like, oh.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to add in? I'm just looking at the time. It's coming up to about 9 p.m. here. And I know you said you only had about a couple of hours or so, and we've done about a couple of hours. So I'm just checking on the time for you.
Yeah, I should probably go, but I will definitely put together all of these things that I've mentioned, and I'm sure I've forgotten something. There's another book that to look at how horrible the brain plugged in world that the feed. I don't remember who wrote it. I know we talked about it. I think that they made a series on Amazon for the UK, I want to say, for that, where everybody's plugged in and then they pull the plug. It's a horrible book, but just if you read the beginning of it and you see how it's like constant stream, and you were the weirdo if you turned it off. But no, thank you. Thank you.
I know we always forget, so I always forget something, I should say. So I've got to stop saying we. I always forget stuff whenever we end up, going live, even when I've got notes written down in front of me.
I have pages of notes. You'd think I couldn't forget, but
yeah. But that's part of why I like keeping things as a conversation. I feel anyway, I don't like to do it as if I'm writing an essay where, we have to go through each point in a paragraph at a time kind of thing. So I know we just talk and we have a theme and we can look at that, all the stuff connected with that theme, but we are just having a conversation. So it can move around a little bit, and I like not having the academic boundaries on a subject matter. I think that's a big part of the problem. People are forced to learn specialized kind of mindset where you get really good at one subject, or maybe a handful of subjects, but you never ever see the big picture because you're incapable of seeing how all those things are interconnected and feed into each other.
Well, that's how they taught us anyhow. I did see a thing where they're training some of the children differently, more of a multidisciplinary sort of thing, so they can tackle the big problems. Because this biology-based everything isn't just, you're not just a biologist. You have to be data, you have to have all these different parts. And if they can create these people that are built to make it all happen without, anyway.
Well, biology relies on nutrition, so you'd have to be a nutritionist as well.
Yeah.
The list becomes endless when you really, start to look into that kind of stuff.
Well, and if they're tailoring to the new life that they're filling you with, Yeah.
That's a good point. So it's almost like becoming a Microsoft engineer.
Yeah.
You know, they don't teach people how to work with computers and software. No, they just teach them how to do Microsoft things. So you have a little disk that has Microsoft tools on it, and they teach you how to put the disk in the computer and run a particular tool. So you don't really know how to work with computers. You just know how to operate Microsoft stuff. And they run courses for that shit, and it costs you a lot of money, and they give you a little certificate at the end.
Yay.
I know, because I looked into it years ago when I thought about getting into doing computer repairs, and when I looked at all that kind of stuff, and it was just like, that's a piss take. That's a money-making scheme. It's another one of Billy Bob's tricks.
I know. I was just going to say, imagine coming from Bill.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You got to have a special license to say you know how to click a mouse.
Oh, I'll say one last funny thing before, or I thought it was funny before we go. That whole Vision 2050, they have all these videos that they put out about it, and that was how I saw it in the first place. And at one point in one of the sessions, they were talking about the silver linings of the COVID, but I had the subtitles on, and it said the silver linings of Kobe. So another nod to Jeff.
That's another one on the scoreboard for Jeff.
Yep.
Yeah, he pointed that out. Oh, yeah, definitely another Kobe job.
Yeah.
Well,
it's too much.
Thanks, guys, for joining in. I'm glad we were able to get it together eventually.
Yeah,
we'll have to just keep practicing. We'll get used to how this time thing works at some point.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
If I keep looking, maybe at some point the AI will tell me what the clock says. Yeah.
I did ask the computer. They lied to me. It said 4 o'clock here was 8 o'clock there.
Yeah, it's because you asked Google. That's
I did. I know. It's my own fault. It is.
Let's get them. Let's mess them up.
Like, haha.
We will do this again in the near future. I think probably about the same. Give it approximately 3-4 weeks, about a month, and we'll do another one.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure something else will pop up here. Yeah.
I'm happy to do it more nearer the time. What's the word for it? Quicker. Yeah, I don't mind doing it sooner. There's the word. Man, my brain stopped working. Sooner. Yeah, that's cool. If some stuff comes up you want to do a show for, that's cool. I'm happy for that. But just so people have got at least a rough idea that these will be, about on that regular basis, about once a month. Yes, we will be back. Keep your eyes open. Don't rely on the YouTube, Gestapo system to give you accurate notifications, because it doesn't always work. Anonymous, did you want to say something, right? Jump in.
I just wanted to say that thanks for having me on, even though I came late, and it's been terrible.
That's my fault.
I've had nothing but lag and stuff when I've been trying to talk. It's been throwing me off. It's like you guys respond super late. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why are they not responding and talking over me and stuff? It's like, oh wait, I got a huge lag. So yeah, it's been terrible. I think it's getting a little bit better now, but whatever. My time's up.
Yeah, time's up. That's it.
Time's up. Tick tock, tick tock. Pete, was there anything you wanted to add?
No. Thanks for people in the chat and people here. So. See you next time.
I want to know, where's Picard's hand? What does he do? What does he do with that left hand?
Yeah. Why is he wearing a skirt in the back?
Yeah, that's a good point. But thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks everyone in the chat.
Thank you.
I'm not going to do a roll call shout out because it'd take hours. But thank you, especially to all the usual suspects. Thanks for turning up. Thanks for joining the chat. Thanks, Taz, for putting links in. And to Big T for joining in and putting the links in. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we're all part of this conversation. So we will see you again soon. Take care. Don't believe the hype. Don't let them stick anything in you. Cat cheese. I'm going to click the button.
Bye.